What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome to part 2 of the final installment of my 2024 collection and declutter series, eyeshadow palettes. Part 1 is already live on my channel. I will have it linked and listed down below in the description box in case you missed it and you want to catch up on the rest of my collection. But before we jump into this, I want to give you just a few reminders. Number 1, I have a very large collection. I know it, I recognize it, to each their own. This is a judgment-free zone, and anything that I do choose to declutter from my collection will be sanitized and passed on to friends and family, and whatever is left over once they are done going through it will go up for sale on my Mercari about mid to end of January, and I will post that link in my community section once everything is up and ready to go. So with all of that being said, please don't ask for any of my used makeup down in the comment section. It's weird, it's uncomfortable. I will just ignore your comment and move on with my life. But without further ado, let's jump into part 2 of my eyeshadow palette collection. Alright, next drawer down, let's go ahead and start with these cute little quads from Game Beauty. These came from their Attack on Titans collection that I picked up, and these are so cute. The formula in here is incredible. If you love a quad and you want something colorful that's just going to give you easy, effortless looks, these are incredible. So the first one that we have is the Rose palette, and this one is my favorite out of all of them. I just think the color story is so beautiful. The shimmers in here are gorgeous as well. You could do one of these shades in the crease, one of the shimmers all over the lid. You can create a one cohesive look with all the shades as well, but I really enjoyed this one. Next we have the Senna palette. Oh my gosh, I love the color combination in here. This is like the perfect little autumnal quad palette, and it's just beautiful. Again, the formula is fantastic and I really enjoyed it. This is the only thing I have from the brand, but it definitely makes me more interested in what they have for future releases. And lastly, we have the Maria palette. It's blue, it's brown, it's absolutely beautiful. I love the addition of the gold shimmer shade up here, but I am going to keep all of those. From Shroud Cosmetics in collaboration with Batty Bean, or Betty Jean as she's known here on YouTube, we have the It's Freaking Bats palette, and this one is gorgeous. It's the first one that she did, and I love this color story. I think it's stunning. I love these sort of grungy tones that it has going on. Very Betty Jean, absolutely gorgeous. This is no longer really a brand anymore, and Betty Jean has actually addressed it on her channel a couple times now that she doesn't even know what's going on with the brand. She's tried reaching out to them. She hasn't gotten any response, so I don't support the brand. This is the only thing that I have from it, but I love these palettes. They're part of my collection, so I am going to continue to show them off. But then we also have the Hello Bean palette, and this one was my favorite of the two. I just love the combination of the oranges with that pop of green in the middle, this beautiful sort of murky yellow tone. And the shimmers in here are absolutely beautiful as well. Plus we have this nice addition of this really deep purple, but those are so good. I really, really love those. I have two palettes from Kidos, and I picked these up, gosh, a while ago at this point, wanting to try the brand, and then they never did anything else really, so this is all I have, but I do really like them. So the first one I have is this little quad right here. This is the Cold Brew quad, and I do really enjoy this one. I don't reach for it that much because I have so many other neutral leaning quads in my collection, but maybe if I scale down a little bit, I will show this one a little bit more love because I do love the formula in here. I love that we have a light, mid-tone, and deep, and then we have one shimmer. It's just a no-brainer look, and that's one thing I love about quads. But then I have the Futurism 3 Astro Pink palette, and this one is so beautiful. I love the combination of the neutrals over here, but these two shades are what keep this palette around. I just think it's incredible. The formula is so, so good, and I'm sad that Kidos isn't really doing, I don't really know what they're doing anymore. I know they came out with like some hair color earlier this year, but I want to hang on to them anyway. I love the formula, I love the color stories, and I do reach for them, just not as often as I want to. I have two palettes from Terra Moons. These came out earlier this year. This is the Lovers on the Sun collection. I think I keep calling it the Lovers of the Sun collection. But the first one that we have is, I can't remember which one's which and what they're called anymore, but one of them is like the Solar palette and one of them I think is the Lunar palette. Both of them are absolutely beautiful. I love the color stories in here. The matte formula is not my absolute favorite. I do have a little bit of a hard time with this shade right here, this sort of purpley shade. It just doesn't blend out the way that I want it to. I can make it work. I can make a beautiful look, but as far as the matte shades go, they weren't super impressive, but the shimmers in these palettes are so beautiful. But I am going to hang on to these because I like them. They're cute, they're small, they don't take up a lot of space, and I do really enjoy the brand for the most part. It's just their mattes aren't my exact favorite, but that's the only thing I have to reference their mattes. I have two from De Varun. I'm not sure how you pronounce it exactly, but this is a brand created by M. Jones. I can't remember the numbers that follow her name, but she is a creator over on Instagram. She's extremely talented, and she launched a brand, I believe, end of last year, and I have two palettes from her brand. So the first one is the Gloomy Garden palette, and this one is so beautiful. Look at that color story. It is just a stunning sort of grungy garden, but it has a little bit of pops to it. The shimmers in here are beautiful as well. I really enjoyed the matte formula. I enjoyed the shimmer formula, but she has improved her formula since then, and this is the newest one I have from her. This is the Witch of the Wildflower palette. It was actually a collab with what is her name? I can't think of her name. Give me a second. I'll pop it up on the screen. I can't think of her name, but they did, they each curated their own palette for the brand and launched them together, and I just picked up the one because I wasn't really as interested in the other one, and as I've said several times now, I'm trying to be more selective with my purchases, and I don't have to purchase something just because I love the brand or just because I want to support someone. So I just picked up the one, and this color story is so beautiful. Look at that. It is purple, it is green. I love this sort of lime chartreuse shade up here. You've got three beautiful shimmers in the middle, and while I do really enjoy the formula in this one, and I mean it's a favorite palette of the year for me, she has drastically improved her formula with this one, and I love both of them. Such good palettes. I've really enjoyed her brand so far. I have three palettes from DD Signature, and the first one I got is this one right here, and I got this one in an Ice Cream Beauty box, and I'm so glad that I did because I never would have picked up this palette because it just seemed a little kind of off to me, but once I had it in my hands and started playing with it, I created some beautiful looks. I really love the matte formula in here. The shimmers are so intense and beautiful. Pumpkin Spice and Americano are my two favorite shimmers in this palette, but she has again since improved her formula as well. I feel like everybody's improving their formula this year, and sometimes it hits a point where it's like, how much better can you absolutely be? But she did come out with the Sweet Aesthetic palette, which is an all matte palette. This is beautiful. This is a very pigmented sort of pastel palette, and the formula is really good, and I made some beautiful looks with it. I paired it with this one right here, which we'll get to in a second, but for me, I need something a little bit lighter to go with my skin tone personally. I need to bring in something else. So while I do really like the formula in here, this one's going to be more of a companion palette, not only because it's an all matte palette, but because it doesn't have the depth that I prefer. Bless you back there. Katie is sneezing, and I think that was throwing me off, but I do really enjoy that one. And then she also brought us the Chrome Book Volume 1 palette, and this is full of duochromes. They are so insanely beautiful on the lid. I love that you have pretty much every single color you could possibly want. This would be a really good travel companion palette if you want to take like one matte palette and one shimmer palette. You could do pretty much anything you could possibly think of, and this is a beautiful formula. I do really enjoy them. I don't experience any creasing with her shimmers or her matte shades at all. They hold up really nicely on the lid, so all of those are going to stay. I don't know if there's anything in this little bunch that's gonna go, but let's go to Beauty Bay. So I tried Beauty Bay for the first time this year, and I'm really impressed with the formula. Is it the best formula I've ever tried? No, but they are incredibly affordable. They have beautiful color stories, and their formula is so user-friendly and just easy to work with. Their shimmers are beautiful on the lid. You don't get anything super shifty or anything like that, but they definitely pack a punch. My only thing with Beauty Bay is they like to do limited edition color stories, so once they sell out, they're gone. You don't get them again, and I know this one's gone. I think this one's gone, but I think these two are still available. But let's start with this one right here. So this is the Mini Charms palette. This is a little 9-pan all shimmer palette, and this is so incredibly beautiful. This one really blew me away. I wasn't really sure what to expect because it was so incredibly affordable, and I knew that I liked the shimmer shade from Beauty Bay. But these, I feel like they really stepped it up with these. They are just incredibly beautiful on the lid, and I do really like it. I hate that the shade names are on this overlay, but that's okay. The Tropical palette is the first one that I tried from the brand, and again, I was trying to get more of that Simply Posh, what is it, oh my gosh, Tropical Punch palette? Yes, Tropical Punch. Is that what it's called? Yes, it's called Tropical Punch. Anyways, I was trying to get that vibe from something else because I didn't know that they were bringing it back. And this one is so good. I had a lot of fun with it. I do still wish that it had like those greens in it that the other one has, but these matte shades are beautiful. They perform really nicely. The shimmers are incredibly beautiful and reflective on the eye, and I really enjoyed it. The Celestial Charms palette is the most recent one from the brand. I just reviewed this one in a palette ranking video. Beautiful. It is definitely a little repetitive, and it's definitely too dark for me personally. This is the lightest shade in here, and while you can kind of mix and match and build up and do things like that, I wish that we had maybe a little bit more variety with the purples in here. Like, did we really need this many mid-tone purple shades in here? No. I wish they had brought in something a little bit lighter, but it's still beautiful. I enjoy the formula, and she's going to stay. And then we have the Botanical palette, and this is the favorite one out of the ones that I have. I just think it's really pretty. It's like a neutral with a twist. I really like the sort of pops of greens and peaches in here. We've got a purple. The shimmers are beautiful, and another really good formula. I have two palettes from Alter Ego. So the first one that I have is the Goddess palette, and this one is duping the Natasha Denona Gold palette because I never got that one. I wanted it for a really long time, and now she does have the Golden palette, but the Golden palette doesn't have these pops of teals in it, and it's not completely the same. So I am going to hang on to this one because I do enjoy it. Alter Ego has a really good formula. They are very affordable, and yes, it's a brand that definitely draws inspiration from other palettes. I mean, who are we kidding? They're duping other palettes, but they're not trying to hide it. Like, they're up front and center about it. Everybody knows that's what they're doing, but I like that they're doing it because not everybody can afford like the luxury palette that they're duping. Like, this is one of Natasha Denona's bigger palettes. I think it was one of her $129 palettes, and when I got this one, that was an insane price point for me. So I do really enjoy it. Good formula. I am going to keep that one. And then I also have the Midsummer palette as well, and this one is duping the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nouveau palette, I believe is what it's called. This is beautiful. I love the color story in here, and I picked this one up because I've never been a huge fan of the ABH formula. I find it to be very hit or miss. I do have another one that you'll see later on that I do really enjoy, but since I have this one, I don't really feel a need to pick up the one from ABH. This one performs beautifully. It's got the same color story, and I do really enjoy it. So both of those are going to stay as well. I'm kind of running out of room over here. But let's move on to these two right here. So these are my two palettes from Titanium Foxes. This is a new indie brand that came out this year. Let's start here because this was the first one. This is a French indie brand, and these are beautiful. The formula is stunning. The shimmers are incredibly stunning. Like, this is becoming a favorite brand. It's still a little early to speak because they only have 3 palettes. You'll see the other one later. It literally just got here. I haven't played with it yet, but this is such a beautiful color story. I love these sort of shifty shades in here. They are smooth, they are reflective, they just look beautiful on the lid. Like, look at that shift in the mirror. Oh my gosh, I have really enjoyed this one, and this one is my favorite of the two because for me, I can get more cohesive looks with just this palette, but combining the two palettes together, oh my gosh, absolutely gorgeous. Again, these shimmers in here are so insanely smooth and reflective on the lid, and the owner, she does the most incredible looks with these palettes. My jaw drops every time I see one pop up on my Instagram feed, and I'm just like, how? I want to create that look. Alright, from Jolie Beauty, I have 3 palettes from the brand. So the first one is going to be the Spellbound palette. This is the most recent one that they released. This was sort of their spooky season release. This is incredible. It is so insanely beautiful, and this one almost made it into my top 24, but I had to cut things off somewhere, and it was really hard because there were so many palettes I wanted to include in that ranking, and unfortunately I didn't have time to rank everything. But formula in here is incredible. I definitely think they have improved their shimmers overall. There are no pressed glitters in here. They are just, wait, no, there are 2 pressed glitters in here. I take that back. There's this one right here, and I want to say this one is the other one. But they're a better pressed glitter formula than what the brand has had in the past. You'll see those in that palette right there, and I just really love this one. It's blue, it's purple, it's green. It is an incredible color story, and I enjoy that one. But my favorite one from the brand is still the Till Death palette. I can't get over how much I love this one because it's very neutral leaning. Oh no, I have a broken shade. I'm gonna have to repress that back in if I can. I think this might have been the one that actually came broken and then being tossed around. That's not helping, but I'll fix that in just a minute. But gorgeous color story. This is sort of their take on like a bridal palette with a twist. Like, it's definitely very like deep and goth kind of feeling, but it's still very beautiful. For me, this is a neutral palette. I love the tones in here with these sort of mauvey rosy tones over here. You've got these beautiful grungy greens. You do have some grays in here, and you've got some neutrals over here. I've loved every single look that I have done with this one, and there's not any pressed glitters in this palette. That's the one I was thinking of, but you do have a little bit more sort of like muted like metallic shimmers in here. So all the shimmers in this palette are not quite as punchy as what you see in the other ones, but I do still really love this one, and I need to fix her when I'm done. So I'm going to set her to the side just so I can remember to do that, but I'm not decluttering this one. It is going to stay. And lastly, we have my first palette from the brand. This is the Sirens palette, and oh my gosh, this color story, it immediately drew me in. It is definitely heavy on the pressed glitter side. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them in here. Not my favorite. I don't really reach for them. I tried using this one, and it was definitely a little bit more, goodness bless you, Katie. Oh my god. I'm so sorry, y'all. Are you good back there? Okay, so what I was saying, I think what I was saying was I tried using this one, and it was just very gritty and flaky, and it just made a big mess. I know you can use the Scotch tape method to get them off, but personally, I'm the type of person that just wants to wash my face, take everything off, and be done with it. But the mattes in here are beautiful, and I do want to show you a side-by-side comparison if I can with the Spellbound palette, because I do feel like they're similar, but you can see that there's not, like, they're not 100% the same. I definitely feel like Sirens is a little bit more muted, and Spellbound is definitely a little bit more bright and vibrant. Do you need both of them? Probably not, but I have both of them, and I love both of them, so both of them are going to stay. Let's go through my Clarity Cosmetics palettes right here. So let's go over the very first one that I ever got. I got this one in a scavenger hunt that they did the end of last year. They like to do sort of where you go and you find a free item on the website, you pay for shipping, and you get it. And I have been really interested in the brand and wanted to try it, so I picked this one up, and this one is really pretty. Okay, well, I think I was going to declutter this one anyway because the formula in here was just kind of okay. The shimmers were okay in here as well. There's not really anything that's... It was okay. It didn't really impress me, and it really kind of made me hesitate to try another palette, but I saw reviews from people from other palettes that they came out with after this one about their improved formula and how much better it was, and it is 100% better. But this one is going to go in the trash because that's just not salvageable. I was going to declutter it anyway, but that one is going to go. So let me just set that one over there so it doesn't make a big mess. All right, so the first one that I picked up after that palette was the Euphoria palette, and honestly, they got me with the color story on this one. Oh my gosh, what is up with this? This one's like all puffed out, and my palettes are falling apart, y'all. I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna have to try and fix that one as well. It's making a big mess. So That's one thing I have noticed, and I was gonna mention about Clarity Cosmetics, is their shimmers are, I believe, hand pressed, and they are so fragile. I've had several of them come broken. I've had several of them explode like this in the pan. So as much as I love the color stories and I do really enjoy the formula, it's a little disappointing because I do pay for these with my own money. But the color story in here is beautiful. I really enjoyed the looks that I created with this one, and I'm gonna see if I can press that one back in. I don't know how much luck I'm gonna have. That one may be a shimmer that's just gonna have to kind of go, but I am gonna hang on to this palette whether I can fix it or not. The Stained Glass palette, this one is really pretty. It looks like we are still okay. This one is very, very deep. I honestly don't know what I was thinking picking up this palette because it's just way too deep for my fair skin tone. This would look beautiful on like medium or deep skin tones, but I will say I did have some issues with this green shade right here, and maybe it's because I am so fair. I found it to be a little bit patchy and a little bit hard to work with. So as beautiful as this palette is, as cute as the packaging is, I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one just because I'm not going to reach for it. I have these other shimmer shades in my collection and other palettes, and I definitely have those two mattes elsewhere as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on to somebody else that will get more love and use out of that one. And then we had the Mermazing palette, and this one definitely came with a shattered shimmer shade in here. I think they're okay now. Yeah, they look like they are okay now. I think it was this one that I pressed back in, and it's fine, but this is a beautiful color story. I think this is a revamped color story of one that they had before. They came out with like sort of three like C-themed palettes. Y'all, I have been doing this for far too long today, but this was the one that I liked the most out of all of them. I didn't want to pick up all three of them. See, I showed restraint, and this is beautiful. The matte formula is incredible. The shimmer formula is incredible. I'm just hoping that I don't have any more issues as far as breaking goes with these shimmer shades, because I think if I do, that's going to be kind of the last straw for me. I don't know if I would continue to purchase from the brand for that very reason, but I will say I have heard that they're pretty good about replacing palettes and things like that. That's just what I've heard. Everybody's experience is their own. I've never had that experience. I've never had any sort of customer service experience with the brand, but I do really enjoy them. I'm just hoping that, you know, moving forward that they hold up a little bit better than they have been. My two palettes from Ace Beaute. So the first one I have is the Paletopoly palette. This one is so bright, so vibrant. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the formula in here. The shimmers are incredible. The mattes are vibrant. They're pigmented. They're very easy to work with. I love how it looks very bright and colorful, but then you have these really pretty neutrals right here in the middle to kind of ground a look. You can definitely get a little bit more variety with this palette, and the formula in here is just so, so good. I have no idea what's going on with Ace Beaute. I feel like they've been doing a rebranding for like 2 years now at this point, and I don't know if or when they're actually coming back and what they're planning on doing. But the other one I have is the Mystic Romance palette, and I got this one in a BoxyCharm, I believe, and this is beautiful. It is very dark, so I do need to bring in something else, but I really enjoy this one, and I kind of want to hang on to this one to see if they do end up going through with their rebrand, and maybe for comparison purposes, because I do feel like this formula is different than this formula in here. I like this one a lot better. Not that this one's hard to work with, but I don't know which one is a newer formula, so I want to do comparisons whenever they rebrand, if that ever happens. All right, my Pat McGrath collection. So let's go ahead and start with the Mothership palettes, and then we'll move into everything else. So up first we have the Bronze Seduction palette. This was the first one I ever got from the brand. This was sort of my introduction to Pat McGrath, my gateway, so to speak. And honestly, the first time I played with this, I wasn't overly impressed. But now that I've gotten a little bit more familiar with luxury brands and a little bit more understanding about the formulas and the intention behind them, I have fallen in love with Pat McGrath. Like, I completely get the hype behind it. Compared to indie brands, it is nothing compared to indie brands, if I'm being completely honest. Just everything pales in comparison. But as far as a luxury formula goes, she does have a stunning formula. It is very pigmented. Her astral shades, which are like her special shades over here, are so reflective and shimmery on the lid. And as far as a mainstream brand that you can like walk into a store and pick up, This one is an absolute favorite. Not my #1 favorite, but it is a favorite. Next, we have this one right here, and I believe this one is called Subversive. I have to be careful with this one because this shade and this shade right here are loose in the pan. I got this one from a friend. She didn't want it anymore. She had an extra one, and I told her I would go ahead and take this one off her hands. And this is absolutely stunning. I have played with it in my own time, and this shade right here is insanely beautiful on the lid. I love this sort of like grungy gold green shade right here. It's like an antique gold. Beautiful color story. I do really enjoy that one. And then my newest addition to the Mothership collection, I couldn't resist. It's the Star Wars palette. I know it's just a sticker over an existing color story, but I don't have this color story, and I got this one half price during the Sephora kind of Cyber Monday deals that they had going on this year, and I absolutely love Star Wars, so you know I had to pick it up. I was so upset that I didn't get this when she released these last year, but this one is, which one are you called? I can't remember the name of this one. Let's see if I can find it somewhere on here. Midnight Sun, that's the name of this one, and this one is so insanely beautiful. I love this color story. Like, this is a fall autumnal color story. I absolutely love the tones in here. We've got something a little bit more warm leaning compared to these two over here. We've got a purple, we've got this beautiful like copper and gold, a really pretty champagne shade. I love this color story. I think this might be my favorite one that I have out of the 3 Motherships, just because it's a little bit more warm leaning, and that's what I go for generally. But look at that packaging. Like I said, I know it's a sticker, but put Star Wars on something and I am forever sold. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about these 2 bigger palettes right here. These are a couple of her holiday releases. I don't have all of them, but I do have this one. This one came out last year. This is a Christmas present, and this one has 2 blushes and then 9 eyeshadows in here, and I do really like the color story. You've got sort of these mauvey mattes in here, and then you got your pops of greens, and then just some really pretty neutral shimmer shades, and then you have 2 blushes over here. I thought these were really nice. I know a lot of people were disappointed in them. Honestly, I would have preferred like an eyeshadow palette and a separate face palette, just because I forget that these are in here and I don't really reach for them that often, but it is really pretty. I love the packaging, and this thing is hefty, y'all. Like, that thing could take somebody out. And then from this year's collection, I have, what are these called? This is the Luminous Legends Mega Eyeshadow Palette, and I never got around to doing content with this one, y'all. I apologize. Things got out of control. My schedule got all moved around, and at this point, I feel like it's too late. Like, this was a holiday release. It's limited edition. I don't even know it's available anymore, but I have it. It's beautiful and I love it. And look at that. Oh my gosh. I know a lot of people were saying that these were repeat shades, but I don't have a huge Pat McGrath collection, not compared to other people, and I don't have these shades, so I'm happy. This purple right here in the middle, sold immediately the minute I saw that. I love that it has a blue in here. This one right here is absolutely stunning as well. I'm really excited to dive into this one. I may roll it in for like a throwback Thursday just to get some use out of it, but if not, it's one that I will definitely get some use out of in my own time because I just think it's so beautiful. And then I also picked up these 2 from the holiday collection as well. She did come out with 2 5-pan palettes, and I just thought these were beautiful. So the first one that we have is this one right here, and look at that. Oh my gosh, it is purple, it is mauve, you got this pop of like really deep green shimmer over here and this really pretty light pink shimmer. I will say this packaging does feel kind of cheap, but still absolutely beautiful. And from what I understand, these shadows that have sort of like this crisscross design on them, I don't know if you can see that on the matte shade. This is like her really good matte formula. I don't know a whole lot about Pat McGrath. I'm just sort of getting into it, but that's just what I've heard. And then I also picked up this one as well, and this one is very neutral leaning. You have 1 matte shade and then you have 4 shimmer shades, but I just thought this was beautiful. I am a sucker for a smaller, more curated color story, and like I've said many times, just kind of one and dones, no brainers, things like that. But this one is called the Dawn Divinity, and then the first one that I showed you was Starfall Seduction. Those are so beautiful. I have these 2 little quads right here that came out earlier this year that I I picked up, and I was really impressed by these. I hate that this is cardboard packaging because I thought it was going to be the same packaging that her motherships come in, but these are really pretty. So the first one that we have is Opalescent Orchid, and look at that. That is such a stunning companion quad palette. Like, this is another one I need to have up front and center to kind of pull in whenever I'm missing shades like this in other looks. So something I definitely want to do. I really want to get some more use out of some of these smaller palettes next year. But the other one that we have is Nirvana Nectar, and again, very neutral leaning. In fact, this one would go really, really pretty with this one over here. Like, you could pair these two palettes together and get some beautiful looks out of them. There's definitely not a lot of variety as far as the two matte shades go, but this one's definitely a little bit deeper, and I just think they would look beautiful together. But I did really enjoy these personally. And then the last one that I have is another one that I picked up during that sort of Sephora Cyber Monday sale. This thing was like 18 bucks. It's C3PO. I love C3PO, but I like this color story. I just thought it was so insanely beautiful. Like, look at that. Is it similar to everything else that she has? Absolutely, but I just really like the variation of this one. I think it's beautiful, and let's do a quick comparison, actually. I just want to see something. So, very, very similar, y'all. Did I need both of these? No, but I had this one first, and then I'm a sucker for Star Wars. So honestly, if I had had this one first, I probably wouldn't have picked this one up, but I'm not getting rid of either one of them. I do really enjoy her formula, and I just think these are such cute palettes and ones that I am happy to have in my collection. Up next we have Danessa Myricks. So I have both of her Groundwork palettes. I have volume 1, which is this one right here. This is like a very essential, like, workhorse palette. It has sort of a putty formula in here, and then the smaller pan is going to be a powder formula. I have really, really loved this palette. I need to bring it back out and get more use out of it, because this is one that I can use this for like an eyeshadow base. I can use these for eyeshadows, brows, contour, things like that, and I do really enjoy it. These also make great liners as well, this more putty formula. This does have a fragrance to it. I don't know what the fragrance is. For me personally, I think it's pleasant. You don't smell it once it's on the eye, but you can definitely smell it just the minute you open up the palette. It kind of hits you in the face a little bit. And then I also had the Blooming Romance palette, which is the one that she came out with earlier this year, and this one is really pretty. I do really enjoy it. I don't think I like it as much as this one, just because I'm not a fan of the variation as far as the tones in here go. I wish we had something a little bit different, especially when it comes to like these two right here. They are so insanely close, and even these two right here are very close as well. So there could have been a little bit more variation, but this one's a really good one for like blush, lip colors, if you want to add in a little pop of something for an eye look and things like that. So both of these are absolutely beautiful, and they are magnetic, so you could pop them around or pop them out and sort of rearrange them and things like that. And then I also have her Lightwork Volume 6 palette that she came out with this year. This is the Freedom palette, and mine has broken at some point. I have repressed it. I barely tapped it on the corner, or I say barely tapped it. I kind of sort of slammed it on the corner of my desk, but I had several shadows in here that just shattered. This one right here, I believe this one right here, and I think there was another one, but I can't remember which one. I was able to press them back in, which was such a relief, because this thing was this was not cheap, but these are so beautiful. You definitely have some more satin matte shades down here to kind of build up a look. You could pair these with the Groundwork palettes as well, but these shimmers in here are the most beautiful shimmers that you can get from a mainstream brand. Like, walk into a Sephora, pick it up, purchase it. These are incredible, and this was such a cool palette because all of these are like little 6-pan magnetic palettes. You can pop them out. This on the cover right here is a mirror, and it also doubles as a cover. It's meant to be travel friendly. It has a little pouch and everything. I don't recommend traveling with it because just that little bitty bump, and look, y'all, I am just not having the best of luck. But anyways, the little bitty bump, and it just kind of went everywhere and shattered. But I love my Danessa Myricks palettes. Alright, so let's dive into my Natasha Denona palettes. I do have quite a few. I don't have every single one that she's ever done because that's a lot of palettes, but I love her formula. I feel like it gets better with every single palette. She likes to mix it up as far as formulas go. She brings us really good color stories. She did worry me earlier this year with all of the neutral palettes that she was bringing us left and right, but I just really enjoy the brand. It's a favorite of mine as far as mainstream goes. But let's go ahead and start with the Lila palette, because this one is one that I pined after for the longest time, and I finally found one pretty much new on Mercari, so I went ahead and picked it up, and I love this palette. I know it's her older formula, but it's just so good. The shimmers in here may not be super reflective and punchy and sparkly and all the things that we love, but they look beautiful on the lid. They are smoothing. They don't emphasize texture. I don't get creasing. They just go on really nicely. And if I want a colorful look but a little bit more toned down, this is a palette I've been reaching for. I've actually used it quite a bit since I've got it, and I have zero regrets. I don't know if it's worth the $100 and whatever price tag, but I think I paid like $50 for this one, and in my eyes 100% worth it. Up next we have, let's go through this little stack right here. So first we had the I Need a Nude palette, and this one is a lot of people's favorite palette. I do really love this one, and it was my favorite one up until another one came out, and I feel like they just kind of keep stacking up on top of each other. But this is beautiful. This is very neutral, but it has a little bit of a more rosy undertone to it. So for me, who's someone with a fair, cool undertone, this is just a perfect color story for me. It's very flattering on my skin. It's very soft. I can get lots of depth. The shimmers in here are incredibly beautiful. Then we have the Yucca palette. This one is an absolute favorite of mine. I love the color story in here with these grungy greens. You've got this really pretty chartreusey shade up here. I'm not the biggest fan of the creme de mattes in this palette. I don't know what it is. I can use them, but they're not very opaque. They're definitely a little bit more on the sheer side. They do build up, but they don't build up to what you see in the pan. But this one is beautiful. I love this little pop over here, and the shimmers in this palette are so insanely beautiful and reflective on the lid. This one is just, it's so beautiful, and a lot of people love that one as well. And then the gold palette, the golden palette came out earlier this year, and this one became a favorite. I know it's boring. It is very neutral. It is warm neutral. It's very gold leaning. I love a good gold look, especially on like the center of my lid, just like a little pop. And this one is beautiful. The formula in here is incredible. You've got lots of depth in this palette, and I've really enjoyed that one. But the one that has kind of taken over for me, we're going to jump over here real quick, as far as my favorite neutral palette from Natasha Denona goes, is the I Need a Warm palette. This one is more my speed. It's definitely more warm leaning over here and more neutral leaning over here. I do really enjoy this multi-chrome right here. It's this sort of green to orange flip. It's a very typical multi-chrome, but I think it's beautiful, and the matte formula in here is incredible. These are the kind of neutrals that I want to reach for, and like I said, I went from loving the I Need a Nude to the golden, and now the I Need a Warm is my absolute favorite as far as neutral palettes from the brand go. We have the Natasha Denona Xenon palette, and I picked this one up because I really wanted to get into grays and blacks, and that's exactly what this palette is. There's one shade in here that has sort of a pinky undertone to it. I think it's this one right here, and then this one over here has a little bit more of a blue undertone to it. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't see it. Like, I can see it from this angle, but whenever I flip it, I don't always see it. But this is one of those palettes that honestly, I don't know why I picked it up, but I have it, and I think it's a really good companion palette. I think it's one that I could like keep in my desk and reach into if I need something to kind of deepen up or lighten up, or just a little inner corner or something like that. My only disappointment with this palette is we don't have her black shade in here. I know it's in the mini version of this palette, but I feel like it could have been brought into this one as well, and for that reason, a part of me still wants the mini Xenon palette, but I just don't know if I would reach for it that much. But this one is really pretty. I do like it. It's just, it's not a favorite. I feel like she could have done something a little bit more exciting with a more kind of cool gray leaning color story than just a bunch of grays and blacks in a palette, if I'm being honest. Okay, moving over here, we have the Love palette, and this is another one that I got from a friend that was getting rid of it. This one and this one right here were both two that I got secondhand, and this was a color story. I had planned on picking it up, and I absolutely love it. I think this one is stunning. I love the purples in here. I love these more like red pinky tones that it has going on. The formula in here is not as good as what she has now, but I do still really enjoy it, and I like the color story, and I'm getting very tongue twisted. I'm gonna have to take a break after this and then just come back because my words are getting all jumbled up. But next we have the Sunrise palette, and this one is really, really pretty. This one reminds me again of like the Citrus Punch palette, but a little bit more muted, maybe not quite as bright, and I just really enjoy it. I think it's beautiful. I like the warm tones in here with these very kind of neutral shades over here. I think the shimmers in here are beautiful. I've only played with this one once, so I don't have like my full thoughts on it, but just from looking at it, I think it's beautiful. The Glam palette. This was my first ever midi palette from the brand. It wasn't my first ever Natasha Denona palette, but this one is really pretty. It's not a favorite of mine. I definitely like this one more than the Xenon palette, but this is very cool tone, and I am not a huge fan of cool tone neutrals. I will say I appreciate that it's not super gray and black. It's definitely more like cool tone brown shades, and I do like that. I like that we have the pop of gold over here, and this is really pretty. Again, it's more of a kind of subdued shimmer shade or shimmer formula in here. They're not going to be super sparkly or reflective, but they do look really pretty on the eye. And if you're looking for a really good cool tone neutral palette for every single day that you can just walk into the store and grab one, this is a really good one. And then we have the most recent release from the brand, the Xoxo palette. This one made it into my top 24 of 2024, and I'm sure you can tell why. It is a purple palette. You do have some more like berry leaning shades over here, but it is definitely a purple palette. I love the shades in here. I do wish that we had maybe a little bit more variety with maybe this little corner over here, and I don't know if we necessarily needed this kind of gray leaning shade up here, but the shimmers in here are beautiful. The mattes perform beautifully. I've really enjoyed playing with this one, and I think next to Yucca, this is like kind of tied for my top favorite palette from the brand. Like I love both of them, and they're both very different, but I mean, honestly, if I had to choose, it would definitely come down to this one right here. I mean, who are we kidding? We all know that I love a purple eyeshadow. And then last but not least, we have my mini palettes and my baby palettes from Natasha Denona. I love the little baby palettes. I think they're so cute. She actually came out with another one this year, and I just haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. But let's start with this one right here. This is the mini Biba palette. This was the first Natasha Denona palette I ever got, and this is so pretty. It's very neutral, but it's also very sort of like pinky warm undertoned. I really like the shade selection in here. You only have one shimmer, but you can get some beautiful looks with this one. I do really enjoy it. We have the mini Trio Chrome palette, and I was really excited to see a mini colorful palette from her, but honestly, the mattes in here just aren't that great. I have a really hard time with this bright blue shade over here. The rest of these are fine, but it's not a favorite of mine, but I'm going to hang on to it because it's Natasha Denona and it's small. It doesn't take up a lot of room, so it's not like it's a huge palette that's really taking up space. And then we have the Mini Love palette. Oh, this one is so cute. I love the color selection in here. It's purples. You've got some really pretty shimmers in here. This one is definitely more shimmer heavy. You only have two mattes in here, so it's not something that I love. I do wish that we had maybe had, I don't know, taken this one out and given us another matte shade, like make this one a matte and then left the two shimmers in here. I think that would have made it perfect, but it is really cute and I do enjoy it. And then we have the mini Starlet palette. I think this is my favorite mini palette from the brand. It's just so pretty. I love the undertones in here. I love the looks that I've created with this one. There was a time when this one came out that I went hardcore with this palette. I think I used it pretty much every single day for a week because every time I put it on my eyes, I just loved the look that I created. And it's a favorite. And then we have this one. This one came out this year. This is the mini Rose palette, and this is so cute. I'm wondering if we're going to get a midi rose palette. I think that would be absolutely beautiful and one that I am definitely interested in, but I like the shade selection in here. I like that this one has 3 mattes and 2 shimmers. This is kind of more what I wanted from the Love palette as far as matte and shimmer selection goes. You've got a deep, you've got a light, you've got a mid-tone, and then you've got the 2 shimmers in here. I do think there could have been a little bit more variation as far as the shimmers go, like maybe made this one a little bit lighter, or maybe kind of made this one a little bit lighter, like Did we really need 2 mid-tone shimmers? No, but it's still absolutely beautiful. And then we have my 2 little baby palettes. So the first one that I got was the baby gold palette. This one came out I think 2 years ago. I don't know how long she's been doing these. This was the first time I ever saw one, and I just thought it was so cute. I couldn't resist. You can definitely get a very quick, easy look. Like, who would have thought a trio would be such a good little color combination? But I do really like that one. And then we have the mini bronze palette. She came out with this one last year, and look at how beautiful. Again, 2 mattes, 1 shimmer, very simple, no-brainer look. In fact, these are 2 palettes I think I might actually take with me on our vacation, because these are just going to be super easy to work with, and I do still want to pick up her other baby palette that she came out with this year. Alright, so these are all of my Viseart palettes, and I love Viseart. They have a solid formula. It's one of my absolute favorites. They're just very flattering on the eye. They never accentuate texture. They're very smooth. They're easy to work with. It's just a fuss-free solid formula, and I absolutely love them. But let's start with the little Petite Pros over here. So the first one I have is the Petite Pro Solstice palette. This is the first one I ever purchased from the brand, and it's a very neutral color story. You have this pop of pink over here. It is warm tone. Like, what else can I say? But I love the selection of mattes up here, and then the beautiful shimmers down here as well. These are magnetic, so you can pop these out and kind of rearrange them with other palettes that have the same size pans in them. Not all of their palettes have the same size pans, so that's why I say it. But these little Petite Pros are perfect little travel palettes, and I really enjoy that one. These 2 right here were gifted to me from a friend. She had them. She didn't want them anymore and asked me if I wanted them, so I happily took them off her hands. But the first one we have is the Petite Pro London Etoile palette. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And look at that. It is dark. It is a little bit grungy. You have that pop of purple in there. Absolutely stunning. And I like the setup of this one, how it's kind of jumbled up a little bit. This one is absolutely gorgeous. And then we have the San Francisco Etoile palette. And again, very neutral, but I like how you have this pop of orange and this pop of green over here. These are incredibly beautiful. And I think this one might be one of my favorites out of these 3. I know that's really strange because this one has the purples in it, but I have another purple palette from the brand that I like even more. But so cute, so fun, so compact, and look at that beautiful art on there. Like, absolutely beautiful. These are stunning. And then if we go into my Pro palettes, I believe that's what these are called. Yes, the first one that we have is Soleil La Plage, and this is beautiful. It is very shimmer heavy, but look at how bright and fun that is. It's very colorful. You do have your more neutral leaning matte, so you're going to get your pop of color more so with the shimmers in here. This is a matte shade as well. It's a beautiful inner corner. It's bright, it's vibrant, it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy this one. And then we have the Violet palette, and oh my gosh, a stunning purple palette. This one is a little bit newer to me. I've only used it a couple of times, but I love it. It's incredible. The formula is everything that I want. This purple is so vibrant. This pink, it doesn't really look pink on the camera. It has sort of a duochrome flip to it, but it's like a very bright, vibrant pink to like a lavender shade, and it is stunning all over the lid. I really enjoy this one. I do wish we had a little bit more variation with these matte shades up here, but honestly, I'm not mad about it because you have all these beautiful purples down here. And then the last one that we have is the how do you say that? Minzette palette. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I apologize. But this one is like a bigger version of the Solstice palette, and I just think it's absolutely beautiful. I love the tones in here. I mean, look at that. They go hand in hand with each other, but you can see the pan size difference as well when I hold these up next to each other. But I really enjoy this one. I like this one more than I like this one just because there's a little bit more variety. But as far as travel goes, this one's better because it's more compact. But they're both absolutely beautiful. I don't know if I need both, but I have both, and I really enjoy the formula. I love the color stories, and these don't take up much room. These are so slim, so compact, and I really enjoy them. All right, so these are all of my Tom Ford quads, and I absolutely love my Tom Ford quads. We'll get into that in just a minute because I've had a change of heart as far as the Tom Ford formula goes, and my collection of Tom Ford has grown a lot over this past year. But in my defense, 4 of these were gifted to me. They were given to me from the same friend that gave me the Viseart palettes that I just showed you. She's been kind of downsizing. She's not wearing makeup as much anymore. She's working from home, and she asked me if I wanted some Tom Ford and Viseart, and I don't know about you, but I am not going to turn down some free Tom Ford and Viseart, so I jumped all over it. But we have the new dip. This is the first one that I ever purchased. I purchased this one on my own. I did get it during a Sephora sale, so I did not pay full price for it. I would never pay full price for a Tom Ford quad. I think as good as the formula is, $110 is ridiculous. It's the same way I felt about the Hermes quad. I waited until I got it on sale because that's a lot of money for 4 eyeshadows. I don't care what anybody says. That's my personal opinion, and I'm entitled to it. Everybody has their own opinion. But this was the first one I ever picked up, and while I thought the formula in here was incredible, it didn't blow me away, and honestly, it's the color selection. It's a cool tone, neutral leaning palette. I'm not a big fan of cool tones, but I watched a million videos about Tom Ford quads because I wanted to make sure I made the right selection, and this was pretty much everybody's #1 favorite palette, and clearly we have different tastes as far as neutrals go. Very beautiful, just not a favorite. This is the wet dry formula, so you can put it on as is, or you can really punch it up by spraying your brush and applying it all over the lid. But still a beautiful formula, just not my favorite color story. And then we're gonna get into the rest of these. I don't remember which ones she gifted me and which ones I picked up. I can't remember, but I did pick up 2 of these on Mercari. They were still new. Who knows if they're authentic or not, but I purchased them anyway. So up next we have Daydream, and this one, y'all, I think this is one of the ones I did pick up. This is insanely beautiful. It is purple. You've got this really pretty navy over here, this more silvery shade right here. Again, this is the same wet dry formula. I've come to find out if it has the little TF in it, it's going to be their wet dry formula, and if it doesn't, it's either going to be their standard formula or their creamy formula. It's a whole thing. I'm learning, but this one is beautiful. I think this is one of my favorites from the brand. And then we have the Honeymoon palette, and this is another wet dry formula. This one is stunning as well. This is more my speed. This is probably the first one that I should have picked up and just kind of gone with my gut instinct instead of listening to everybody, but absolutely stunning. And then we're getting into, I think this is the creamy formula. So these are all like cream to matte formulas in here, and then you have a beautiful shimmer. This is in the shade Forbidden Pink, and this one is so beautiful. Not very pink if you ask me, but still a beautiful color story, and I enjoy it. That's the only, I think, creamy matte one that I have. And then I think these 3 are like the classic formula, and personally I really enjoy the classic formula. But the first one that we have is Desert Fox, and this one I did not pick it up from Sephora, but during the Sephora sale and all of that this year, it was deeply discounted. It kind of has gone in and out of stock, but the color story is beautiful. It's a very warm tone neutral palette. I really enjoy it. These are just mattes, and this is more like a satin right here. So if you want anything punchy, you're not going to get it from here, but this is a really pretty color story. And then we have these 2 right here. This was from a summer collection. I don't know if it was this year or last year. I don't know all the ins and outs in Tom Ford, but this one is Island Haze, and look at that. Oh my gosh, it is so insanely beautiful. These 2 palettes right here I wore a lot when I was on jury duty. They were just very simple to do, very neutral, but still a little bit on that colorful side, not pushing the envelope too much, but I really enjoyed it. Again, this is more the classic formula, so you got 2 mattes and 2 shimmers in this one. And then this one right here is the Tropical Dusk palette, and this one is gorgeous as well. I love this pink shade up here with the brown, and again you have 2 shimmers over here. The one thing that really irritates me with Tom Ford is he comes out with these beautiful color stories, and they're always limited edition. Like once they're gone, they don't come back, and it's really hard to keep up. So I will never be a Tom Ford review channel because 1, I can't afford it, and 2, they just come and go faster than anybody can keep up. But I'm gonna love what I have, use what I have, and I do really love these. Like I said, I have had a 100% change of heart with Tom Ford and Pat McGrath this year. They're 2 brands that I wasn't overly excited about, and this year I've really gotten to know them and I've really enjoyed them. But let's go ahead and put these back in the drawer. I'm going to take a little break, kind of recharge my battery, and then we'll continue on to the next drawer. Alright, also I have napped, I've had my coffee, my snack, and I am ready to move on to the next drawer. So let's just start with this little pile right here. It's just a conglomeration of different brands, and let's start with what's right on top. This is my YSL Couture Clutch. I have 400, I can't remember the name of it. I don't remember, but you'll know what it is when I open it. It's this one right here. This is a stunning formula. The matte shade in here is so creamy, and these shimmers up here are so sparkly and smooth on the lid. I don't find that they emphasize texture. I don't get fallout or anything like that. And this is just a really beautiful formula. I have been really impressed with these. In fact, there's a couple other variations that I want to pick up. I don't need all of them. Just because I love it doesn't mean I need every single one, but there's definitely a couple of them I have my eye on. This one from Guerlain. This was last year's holiday release, and first of all, that packaging is so pretty with like the sparkles, and this is like velvet up here, but the color story in this one is just so beautiful. I couldn't help it. It's colorful, it's a luxury brand, and this one made me really excited. And the formula in here is really nice. I don't think it's anything overly spectacular compared to some other luxury brands that I have tried, but this is a matte right here, and then you've got like some satin shimmers in here that look very pretty on the eye. It doesn't pack a huge punch, but it blends out really nicely, and it looks beautiful on the lid. And now that I'm thinking about it, this would pair beautifully with that Chanel quad that I just tested out, and you'll see later on in the video, but that's gonna stay. I have a quad from Rowan. I picked this up, sorry, it is super reflective. I picked this up because so many people were talking about how incredible these are, and they are beautiful on the lid. I got mine in 1111, but this one right here is so dry, and it's been like that since the minute I got it. I don't know if it was just I got a bad quad or if it's supposed to be like that or whatever. These right here are beautiful and really creamy, and I do really enjoy this, and I'm definitely gonna get some more use out of it, but I can't see myself picking up any more of them because I wasn't that impressed with it. I definitely have some shimmers from some other brands that just pack a little bit more of a punch. They're a little bit easier to work with, and I really enjoy. These are kind of a cream formula, which isn't anything that I'm against. It's just not an overly favorite of mine. It wasn't as impressive as what I expected. Maybe my expectations were too high. Alright, we have this little eyeshadow palette right here from Essence. This is the Nothing Compares to Nude palette. I picked this up for my Essence video, and I was really impressed with the quality in here. These mattes performed beautifully. They blended out effortlessly. I didn't have any issues with patching, skipping, fallout, or anything like that. And I thought the shimmers in here were really pretty as well. I was really impressed with the formula, especially because this is like maybe a $3 or $4 little 6-pan eyeshadow palette. And even though I do really like it, I'm not going to reach for it if I'm being completely honest. There's just other things in my collection that I'm going to go for before I go for this. So I am going to declutter this and pass it on, but this is an excellent formula if you're looking for something super affordable, or if you're like in a pinch and you forgot an eyeshadow palette and you don't want to pick up something just on a whim. These are a really good option, but this is going to leave my collection. Alright, so let's go ahead and skip this one from Urban Decay for now. We'll come back to it when we get to Urban Decay. But let's move on to this one from Give. So I picked this one up a couple of years ago. I think about the time they first came out. I got the one in Rich Girl because I thought it was a really pretty warm tone neutral quad that I could get a lot of use out of. The formula in here is really nice. I just wish that the matte shades went a little bit lighter because for me, I do have to pull in something else. So it's not an all-in-one quad for me. But the matte formula I thought was really nice, and the shimmer formula was really nice as well. Again, I don't know what's happening with Give. They're constantly on sale. I don't know if the brand is going under or if they're doing a rebrand or what, because they did kind of discontinue these, and then they brought out new eyeshadow palettes that have like some split pans in here to give you more variation. So I don't know if the formula is in the same as this one, but I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one, not because it's a bad formula, but I don't reach for it, and somebody else is going to get so much more use out of that one. Another one that I am going to declutter is this one right here from Il Makiage. This is in Color Boss Squad Multidimensional Eye Color Quad in The Real Deal. That's what shade this is. And I just was not impressed with this formula at all. I found the mattes in here to be very difficult to work with. They didn't want to adhere to my lid. They were patching. And these shimmers over here were just so underwhelming, especially for the price of this quad. I think this is like a $55 or $60 quad. So it's definitely up there with like a luxury pricing. and I think Il Makiage is considered to be a luxury brand, and I just wasn't impressed with it. I'm not overly impressed with everything from Il Makiage. It's not a brand that really calls my name, but I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one and pass it on to someone else. We're going to put a pin in ABH as well, but let's move on to Makeup by Mario. So I do have both of his matte palettes, and then I have the original Ethereal Eyes palette. I am going to keep all of these, but let's run through these really quick. So this is the first, what are these called? Master Mattes palette. This is beautiful. I do really love this palette. I think the formula in here is fantastic. And these palettes right here are something that I really need to keep out in front of me. Again, like I was saying earlier with another palette, they've just got shades in it that I could really utilize if a palette I'm using is missing something. So I definitely do want to do that. But I do really enjoy the formula in this palette, but I feel like he kind of improved his formula when he came out with the second one. But I am going to keep that one. It is a really good staple palette. But this one is the one that he came out with this year, and this is the Master Mattes the Neutrals palette. It's definitely more cool tone leaning. I don't feel like there's a ton of color overlap, but there's definitely some, but I don't think you necessarily need both unless you're going to get a lot of use out of both of these palettes. But if you want something more cool tone, you can go for this one. If you want something more warm tone, you can go for this one. I do appreciate that both of them have a black and like an almost white shadow. This isn't quite a white, it's more like a creamy colored shadow, so I do appreciate that. But again, I don't feel like you necessarily need both in your collection unless this is your sort of that aesthetic, but I do think the formula in here is better than the formula in here. And the packaging is different too. This packaging is shimmery and or glossy, and this one is like a matte packaging. But then I also have the Ethereal Eyes palette. This was the first one I ever bought from the brand, and this was like so viral. Everybody was going crazy over it, and this is a stunning palette. I don't think it's necessarily worth the price point. I did get mine on sale during Sephora, and then I had some points to add like some extra money off, and I do really enjoy it. These shades in here are very topper-esque. They're just beautiful and sheer on the lid, but they add a really pretty sparkle, and the matte formula in here I thought was really, really nice. I really enjoyed it. I think this matte formula is probably very similar to the Master Mattes the Neutral palette they came out with this year, but I do really enjoy this, and I am going to hang on to it even though it's now been discontinued and you can't get it anymore. I almost got the new version of this one, the Moonlight one, but ultimately I decided to skip out on it because I felt it was very similar to this one, just with pops of blues, and my mom picked it up, so if I ever need to like do a comparison or anything, I can always just borrow it from her and include it in a video. But let's go ahead and move on to these right here from House Labs. So she came out with these two little palettes last year, and I got these when they went big time on sale, and I personally really enjoyed the formula in these. So the first one we have is going to be the Super Neutrals palette, and then the other one is the oh wait, that's volume 1 and this is volume 2. They're both the Super Neutrals palette, but I thought this was a really nice formula. It definitely performs more like a luxury brand, so it's not going to be super pigmented, but I didn't get any patching, skipping, or anything like that. The shimmers in here I thought were really beautiful. This one in particular in volume 1 is so incredibly reflective on the lid, and I really enjoyed these. I'm secretly hoping that she releases more, but I don't know. She didn't do any this year. Maybe this is kind of like a test and she didn't get the best feedback of these because I know a lot of people didn't enjoy them, but I did, and I am going to hang on to both of those. Alright, I have one little palette from Ofra, and this is the Falling in Love palette that they did in collaboration with Allie Dawson, and this is such a beautiful little palette. It's like the perfect fall palette. I have reached into this one a lot, maybe not as much this year as I did last year, but I just really enjoyed like doing these three matte shades all over the lid, this one on the lower lash line, and then toppering that all over everything to give a beautiful sparkle. This is a really good highlighter option. It's a little bit more sparkly and glittery than what I prefer for a highlighter, but it does perform really nicely, and I like the formula in here, so I am going to hang on to that one. Let's move on to, I have this one right here. So this is from Iconic London. It's the only palette I have from them. This is the Treat Yourself eyeshadow palette. I got this in a Ipsy Boxy Charm, and the formula was just okay. It wasn't really anything special. I had a hard time kind of getting through this one and testing it because it just didn't excite me. It's very neutral. It does have like one colorful matte right here, but the rest of it, you're pops of color is going to come from your more shimmery shades, and it's just not anything that I'm going for. It's not really my aesthetic, so I am going to declutter this one. Alright, I have this one right here. This is from Laura Lee Los Angeles. This is the Nudie Patootie palette. It's the first one that she came out with. She has since kind of curated it down and done a smaller version. I don't think she makes either of these anymore, but I don't reach for it either. But I am going to hang on to it because I did love this palette. I pined after it. I was so excited when I ordered it, and I used it, but then COVID hit and I wasn't doing makeup anymore. So a little bit of a shame, but I definitely want to hang on to it just because it's a little bit of makeup history. And it reminds me of when I really started to get into having more fun with my makeup and just doing more colorful, fun looks. I know this one isn't colorful and fun, but this was like a step in that direction for me at that point of time, because I was doing like basically 3 brown shades and calling it a day and doing something very kind of champagne-y for all over the lid. But I did really enjoy this palette when I was using it, and I do think it's a really good one. And honestly, if she were to ever bring this back, maybe update the formula and kind of give it a little bit more pizzazz, I could see myself repurchasing. But I am going to hang on to that one. Let's go into this one right here. So this is the Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette. Another one I don't reach for, but I'm going to hang on to it just because I loved it so much. This was like the perfect everyday palette. I use this one so much. I loved this row right here. I really enjoyed that one as well. And these pressed glitters up here, they weren't my favorite, but they weren't bad. I mean, for the time, they were what people were using, and I get it, but I love the way that she has this palette laid out. She's got it by gradient, and then she's got her glitters, metallic, sequins, and mattes, and this was just, it was like the perfect palette. And I was so upset when everything went under and we never got to see a volume 2, 3, 4, or whatever come into fruition. But who knows? I know she's working on bringing back her own line, so maybe we'll get the volume 2, maybe we'll get something else that's just as good, if not better. But I am going to hang on to this one. I just don't have it in me to part with it. Let's move on to my tiny little Morphe collection that I have, because I definitely feel like I don't need all of these anymore. So I have both of the bigger Jaclyn Hill palettes, and then I have her Vault palettes right here. And I think I'm going to get rid of everything except for the original palette, just because this was like all the craze. If you didn't have this palette, you didn't love YouTube, you didn't love makeup, like you knew nothing. And I used this so much. I thought it was so fun and colorful, and really it comes down to this quad right here. Other than that, it's like a completely neutral palette, but it was so pretty, and Morphe was all the craze, and this was just like a moment. This was a moment in makeup, a moment in YouTube, and I can't bring myself to get rid of this one. I want to hang on to it. I don't use it, but you know, I mean, as long as it's not growing mold or doing anything funky, I'm going to keep it just for the memories. But the rest of these I can definitely get rid of. I'm going to have to rearrange in a minute. But this is the Volume 2 palette, and this one is like pretty much untouched. I've dug into it a little bit. This one was definitely more bright and colorful than the first one, and it's tempting to keep it, but I don't reach into it. It's old. I'm not going to use it. Morphe's formula it was good at the time, but now there's just so many other brands that have incredible formulas. So I think it's time to finally part ways with this one. I'm okay with just having the one. That's enough like history for me. I don't need the rest. I don't support Jaclyn Hill. It is what it is. But let's go through the Vault collection really quick. I'm going to declutter these as well, but let me show you what I have. And I think I got one of the ones where I didn't have any quality issues. I know some people did, but I never experienced it. But first we have the Bling Boss palette. I was so excited about these because I got these before I got Volume 2, and this kind of brought some color into my collection. But this was Bling Boss. This one was Armed and Gorgeous. Oh my god, like these color stories are so good, y'all. Oh my gosh, it kills me. And then we have Ring the Alarm. This one definitely could have been curated a little bit more, but at the time I just thought this was so fun and colorful. And then the last one we have is Dark Magic, and this one was so intimidating to me, but I'm looking at it now going, oof, that is some sultry yumminess in a palette. But we are finally going to say goodbye to 5 of my Jaclyn Hill palettes, y'all. This is going to free up so much space in my collection. You have no idea. All right, so I have the rest of the drawer sitting right here, and let's go ahead and start with Huda Beauty. So I have 2 palettes from the brand, and honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of her formula. This one I bought a long time ago. This is the Khaki Haze little palette, and I thought the color story in here was really pretty. I expected it to be more green leaning than it actually is. There's like one kind of muky, like gross green shade in here, which is absolutely beautiful, but other than that, it's very neutral. The formula is fine, the shimmers were fine, but I don't really reach for this. I was hoping I would get some use out of it this year, but I didn't, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. And then I also have the Empowered palette. This was a birthday gift. This and another palette, y'all, my boys bought these for me for my birthday. They were so sweet. They went through my collection when I wasn't home and then went to Sephora and found 2 palettes that they thought that I would like. I mean, come on now. But this is the Empowered palette, and this is beautiful. Again, the formula isn't anything that blows me away, and it's not anything that I get overly excited about because she does do very neutral leaning palettes, but I like the tones in here. I love the golds. I love the more warm tones in here. You've got some cool tones over here. She's got sort of like this weird kind of glossy thing going on in this that I'm not a big fan of, but I am going to hang on to this because not only was it a birthday present for my boys, but I do actually really like this palette. But again, it's not anything that just gets me excited. It's not a favorite mainstream brand for me. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Skin by Kim and KKW because essentially they are the same brand. It's by the same person. I feel like the formulas are very similar. She basically just dropped the W when she got divorced, rebranded, and came out with Skin by Kim. But first, I have the Camo palette from KKW. This is the only one I have left, and I love and adore this palette. This color story is neutral, but it's got those beautiful greens in it. It was just so much fun. This is what I'm waiting for Skin by Kim to come out with. She came out with another palette very recently, and it's very similar to the Ethereal Eyes from Makeup by Mario. Like, she's definitely kind of following that little track, but we'll get to that in a minute. But this was just so good. I love this palette. The formula actually in here is still really nice because it's not that old, and I do really enjoy it. And this is one I will probably hang on to forever just because I loved it so, so much. And this was a palette that was really hard to get your hands on when it came out. At least for me it was. But then we have her Skin by Kim Classic Mattes eyeshadow palette, and looks a little familiar, don't you think? In fact, let me grab, hold on. There we go. Look at how similar those color stories are. I mean, come on now. You can't deny it. Like, she definitely took a page from Makeup by Mario when creating this palette, but I have to say, I like the formula that she has better than his. There's just something about this formula. It performs just a little bit more effortless than these over here. And maybe it's because this is his older formula and he's improved. I mean, I can't compare because the shades are different in his newer one, but I do really enjoy her formula. But again, I am waiting for something fun like this to happen, and I'm hoping it's somewhere down the pipeline and it's going to come to us very soon. I may pick up her new one just for, you know, comparison purposes. Check out the formula and see what it's like. It's got some shimmers in it. I'm really curious about that formula, but I am going to keep this one. All right, I have this one right here from Lancome. This is the Louvre. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this was last year's holiday palette, and I bought this because Lauren May Beauty went on and on and on about how beautiful this palette was, and she was 100% right. It's a little bit of a hefty price tag for what you're getting, but this is kind of like a all-in-one face and eye palette. Like, you can use this as a highlighter. It is so beautiful on the lid as a highlighter. You can use these on the eyes. I love this little pop of green right here. And it is absolutely beautiful. Plus, look at that embossing in there. Like, it makes you not even want to use it, but I definitely need to bring this one out and get more use out of it, but it is going to stay. My Juvia's Place collection. So these 3 right here I had decluttered a little while ago, and I missed them, so I repurchased them when they were heavily discounted, and I have reached into them, believe it or not. But let's run through what I have from Juvia's Place. So first I have the Nubian Coral 3 palette. This is so pretty. It's cool tone though. Like, who would have thought? Cool tones and warm tones. It's got these more kind of reddy peachy shades in here that I do really like the way they look on my skin, and you do have a couple pops of grays up here. They're not my favorite, but there's something something about like this tone with grays that I do really appreciate and think looks beautiful together. And then we have the Fula palette. This one is so cute and fun and colorful. This is the only one I haven't reached into yet since I've repurchased, but this one is really pretty. I remember just loving this one so much, and I'm happy to have it back in my collection. The Blushed Rose palette. Oh my god, look at that. That is such a pretty 6-pan palette, and I just miss this one so much. I love the looks that I create with it. Again, it's simple, effortless, don't really have to give it a lot of thought. And then the Nomad palette, this one is my favorite. I don't know why I ever decluttered that one, because look at it. It is so just like fall and yummy and muted and grungy, and you do have one really pretty shimmer in here, and you have more of like a satin sequin shade over here. And I just really like the tones in here, and it's one that I really missed, and I'm so happy to have it back in my collection. So these are going nowhere as well. I have, oh, another one from Katrice. Is this another one from Katrice? No, the other one was from Essence, but this is the Coral Crush palette. I picked this up for a Katrice video, and I was really impressed with this formula as well. Catrice and Essence are sister brands, so you would expect that if you like one, you like the other, but I will say they're not equal as far as their formulations go. There are some things that I like more from Catrice and some things that I like more from Essence, but I really did enjoy this palette. I like the looks that I created, and honestly, I'm going to hang on to this one because I can definitely see me reaching into this one a little bit more, especially if I want to do like an affordable Throwback Thursday or something like that. Like, I've got ideas, y'all, and I want to hang on to this one because I did really enjoy it. I'm also going to hang on to this one from NYX. This is from the Beetlejuice collection. It's the Color for the Recently Deceased. Yes, and this was so cute. Like, look at the color story. It's fun, it's colorful, it's nothing to write home about, but I did really enjoy the formula in here. I like the looks that I created, and I love Beetlejuice, so I'm going to go ahead and hang on to that one. Alright, my one Patrick Ta palette. So this is the Major Dimension 2 palette, and this is the other one that my boys gifted me for my birthday. And this is really, really pretty. I like the formula in here, but look at that. Look at that shimmer right there. It's already going funky on me. That's not mold, is it? Ah, y'all, what the heck? I have not had this palette very long. It is December. My birthday was in June, and what is that? I even keep the little silica gel packets in with my eyeshadows to kind of absorb moisture to keep these things from happening. But that is really, really irritating. I can't decide if I want to just scrape out that shade and keep the rest of it, or if I just want to get rid of it altogether. That really pains me because this isn't very old. Like, I don't even know what to do. That really, y'all, that pisses me off. I'm sorry, but that really, truly does, because his palettes are not expensive, but this is what I keep talking about with Patrick Ta. Like, you are charging an arm and a leg. You are a luxury brand. This is unacceptable. This was purchased in June. It's December, and I've got mold in my palette. I want to throw this away just because it makes me that mad. Like, this makes me so mad, and I think that's what I'm gonna do. I don't even want to see it. Like, that irritates me. I'm gonna hang on to it and show my boys because they are at their grandmother's house for the weekend. They're celebrating Christmas, and I'm gonna show them why I no longer have it, but that's really irritating. That's gonna go though. It just, oof, that goes all through me. But let's move on to something a little bit happier. Let's move on to my ABH palette. So I have two right here. First of all, I have the Soft Glam 2 palette. I have had this forever, and I keep thinking I'm gonna hang on to it. It's a really good travel palette. I'll get some use out of it. I do not reach into this, and now I have a larger collection with lots of small palettes that I absolutely love, and the formula in here is not bad, but it's just not one that I'm going to reach for. There are other ones that I'm going to reach for over this one for travel, so I'm going to go ahead and finally say goodbye to this little guy right here. And then I have the Cosmos palette. This, y'all, this color story sucked me in. First of all, what is up with that? Come on now, y'all, get your stuff together. But this color story sucked me in with those beautiful warm tone neutral mattes in here, and then just these pops of colors with the shimmers in here. I just thought this was so pretty for ABH, and I love the formula in here. I thought this performed incredible. I have said several times that ABH is very hit or miss as far as the eyeshadow formula goes, which is why I don't purchase a lot from them. But this one, it has definitely opened me up to the brand, but she's been coming out with a lot of like smaller ones that are kind of what's the word that I'm looking for? Reimagined versions of these bigger ones. I'm waiting for some more of these bigger ones to come out. She has come out with Fall Romance since this one, and that one was just too dark for my taste. Very pretty, but I love this one. This one was so, so good. Okay, I have 3 palettes from Too Faced. Let's start with this one right here. Who remembers and who still has the I Want Candy palette? You will see this one in every single collection and declutter video because I am never getting rid of this. I loved this palette so, so much. I loved watching Candy Johnson. I just thought she was so fun and perky and cute and just vibrant, and I loved her her energy. She was just so fun to watch, and she came out with the I Want Candy palette, and look at this. It is neutral. I thought it was fun and colorful, and I use this one so, so much. Mine doesn't really smell like candy anymore. I think the last time I did this, it faintly smelled like it, but I just love this one, and it brings back so many memories, and it was just so cute. It looks like a little candy tin. It even had like the paper in it that looked like the chocolate paper that you would get in a box of chocolates, and it's so cute through and through. Like, look at that. Absolutely adorable. That's going nowhere. But then I have these 2 right here from Too Faced. So this is the Appley and Love palette that they came out with for this year's fall release, and it's in their tin packaging. This is so good. I loved the formula in here. I was really impressed with the shimmers. They're not anything punchy compared to indie brands. It's something you have to keep in mind as far as mainstream goes, but I get it. Not everybody wants to purchase from an indie brand where you can't walk into a store and just grab it off the shelf. They want something that's going to give you instant gratification. I get it, because I get so impatient when I order and it's not here like the next day. But this is so pretty. It smells like cinnamon apples or like apple cider or something like that. I like the color story in here, and I'm going to hang on to this one. And then this one was gifted to me from one of my clients. She, I think, got it as like a gift with purchase, and she didn't like it. She wasn't going to use it. It's not her thing. She's very simple when it comes to makeup, which is fine. I'm not throwing shade by saying that, but she passed it on to me, and I really think this is pretty. I've heard a lot of people love this one, and I'm excited to test it out and give it a little bit of a run. I have kind of swatched it a little bit, you can see, but I haven't used it on the eyes yet, but I am going to hang on to this one as well. Okay, let's jump into Tarte really quick because these are kind of big and in the way. So the first one I have is the Tartelette in Bloom palette. This is the second one I've ever had, and it's just such a staple. I need to reach for this one more. I do really love this palette, but I kind of forget about, oh my gosh, I can still smell the Tarte smell from this palette when I open it. I know not everybody loves that, but I really do. But this is just a really good staple palette. It does have that fragrance in it, so if you're not a fan of fragrance, you're not going to like it, but the matte formula in here is really nice. The shimmers are very subdued, but they do look really pretty on the eye. I don't get any creasing, and they don't emphasize texture, so to me that is a winner. Next we have the Tarte Reflections palette. This was their anniversary palette that they released this year, if I can get it open. And look at how beautiful that color story is. I still have the little paper because I thought it was cute. This blew me away. The formula in here, the color story in here, I picked it up mostly because of the color story, but I love the embossings in here. The mattes in here performed so good. There was a point where I lived and breathed for Tarte, and then I discovered indie brands and kind of forgot about them, and this one really kind of reignited my love for Tarte, and I'm definitely curious about other things that they're going to release in the future and see what they have in store for us. But I just love the purples in here, the warm neutrals. You've got some creamy shades over here, some beautiful shimmers in here. I've loved every single look that I've created. Yes, this is big. This is definitely a little bit cumbersome. It takes up a lot of space. It's not for, you know, travel or anything like that, but absolutely beautiful formula. I was really impressed with this one. And then we have my Maneater palette. This is the Maneater After Dark. It came out, I think, 2 or 3 years ago at this point. I picked this up on major discount fairly recently. I have not played with it yet. I have pulled this one in so many times for a Throwback Thursday, and it never wins. So it's one that I'm going to have to play with on my own. But look at that yummy fall color story. Again, it's colorful, but it's still neutral. And to me, this is exciting, especially for a mainstream brand, because I feel like everything is just kind of very neutral. So when we get something like this, I get excited, and this is beautiful. Again, we've got warm tones, we've got some really pretty shimmers in here. I don't know about the formula. I'm assuming it's really good. I will say that this one and the Reflections palette, they don't have a fragrance. So if you've been wanting to try Tarte and you're put off by the fragrance, they have gotten rid of it. I don't know about all of their palettes, but I do know that these two don't have the fragrance. And then we have my Urban Decay palettes right here, and all of these are very new to my collection. But let's go ahead and start with this one. This is the original Naked palette. This was a re-release from the brand. They brought it back out. They improved the formula and all of that, but they kept the color story, kept the packaging, and I never had the original. I could not afford it when it came out. I wanted it so bad. So this was something that kind of filled that little missing piece that I had always wanted. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you're into makeup, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're watching this, then you're probably into makeup. But I wanted this so bad, and I finally have it, and it's so boring, but I love it so much. I can't help it. I just cannot help but loving it. The pans are ridiculously small. The formula was okay in here. It wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't horrible. Like, it's not unusable. It's not anything I struggled with. It's just not as great as some other brands that I have. Like even Tarte and Too Faced, I feel like have a better formula compared to this. But I just, this makes me so happy just knowing that I finally have it after all of these years. Like, I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm excited over a boring Urban Decay palette that came out like, what, 10 years ago at this point. But I am going to hang on to it. She's going to live in her little box because it says limited edition, and it's got everything on the back. I just love it so much. So I mean, it's even got like a little thing on here talking about the palette, so that's gonna stay. And then I have these two right here. These are the holiday releases from the brand. This one is the Moondust Quad. This one was exclusive to Sephora, I believe. I have a video comparing and trying both of these palettes on my channel if you're interested in it. But this was the Quad, and these are all of their, what are they called? The Moondust shadows, and these are all based around Space Cowboy. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. And these are beautiful. I love the formula. I already knew that I love the formula, and I like the shades in here. They're different. There are two shades in here. They're the same shades in here, but other than that, there's no crossover. But I don't necessarily need both of these, but I have both of these, and this would be a really good one to travel with if you have like an all matte palette and you just want a little sparkle and pizzazz to throw on your lid to go over a all matte look. But I am going to keep that one. And then this is the Space Cowboy eyeshadow palette. This is, I call it the star palette is what it is. And I keep it in the box because it's a star shape and it's so awkward to store. If I can get it open, it's like glued. So that's the only reason it's in the box. It makes it easier to store. But this is what the palette looks like. Super cute, very cheap feeling. I will give it that. And it twists open, and that's our color story. So in here, you're going to get two mattes. You're going to get a matte with shimmer, and then you get 3 of the Moondust shades. I believe it's these two these two are in the Quad. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember right off the top of my head. But yeah, there are 2 shades in here that overlap the other one. But I like the variety in here. These shades do lean very light. So if you have a deeper skin tone, this may not be the perfect palette for you. But for me personally, I really enjoyed it. And I love it. And I'm happy to have it. So I am going to put her back in the box. And she is going to stay. All right. We've got a couple more from this little drawer to get to. And then we can move back to like Indie and some C Beauty. So first I have 2 of the little E.L.F. bite-sized palettes. These are so cute. The formula is fantastic. They're tiny. They don't take up a lot of space. I'm going to keep both of these. The first one I have is going to be Hot Jalapeno. And I mean, look at how beautiful that is. Look at the variety in here. You got 2 mattes, 2 shimmers, and you can get a really pretty look with this one. I would prefer it to be maybe a 5-pan and have one more like lighter green shade, but this one you can definitely sheer it out and it doesn't look too deep on the eye. So I'm going to hang on to that one. And then I also have the Pumpkin Pie palette, and this one is so boring but so pretty at the same time, and I think this is a really good travel palette. It's another option. I'm weighing my options as to what I'm going to take with me on vacation because I want to take some stuff but I don't want to take everything, but I'm going to hang on to both of these. And then I have these two little palettes from Smashbox. I think they came out with 4 or 5 of these. I just picked up the 2. And the first one I have is going to be Earthy Vibes. This was my favorite out of the 2. Performance-wise, I like the variety in here. I like the way it performed better. I like the shimmers in here. I like that there's more mattes in this one than there are in this one. We'll get to that one in just a minute. But this shade right here and this one right here, sold, done. Those 2 shades are what called my name, because honestly I was only going to pick up this one, and of course I scrolled through and came across this and was like, oh, I need that one as well. So not the best formula, but it's not a bad formula either. These are teeny tiny little pans in here, but I want to hang on to it, not only because I did like it, but for comparison purposes as well if they come out with something else. But then I also have Bougie Vibes, and you can see exactly why I picked this one up. But there's only 3 mattes in here, and then the rest of them are going to be shimmers, and honestly I didn't realize that whenever I picked it up that it was going to be shimmer heavy. I don't know if that necessarily would have made a difference, because I can get a look out of this, but these 2 shades right here are so incredibly close that there's just not a whole lot of variance as far as the depth that you're going to get with this palette. So I do wish that they had taken one of those just a little bit darker, or maybe made this one a matte instead. That would have really kind of set this one over the top and really made me love it more than I do. But I am going to hang on to that one as well. So let's put these up and pop into our next, well, I say drawer, but these are no longer in a drawer at this point. Alright, so these are all of my C Beauty palettes, and I went down quite the rabbit hole this year as far as C Beauty goes, but they've got some incredible formulas. Like, they're definitely giving like indie brands a run for their money, but let's go ahead and run through these. So the first ones that I have that I tried outside of Cryptine, which honestly should be in here, but it's also an indie brand at the same time, and yeah, it's a thing. Anyways, those are where they are. But these are from the brand Color Rose, and I picked these up because I thought the packaging was stunning. Like, look at that. They are absolutely gorgeous, and that is what the color story looks like in this one. The formula in here is really, really nice, but these are very lightly pigmented, especially compared to these other ones right here that we're going to get into in just a minute. So while I can create a really pretty look with these, they don't build up to what I personally like, but I am going to hold on to these because I like the packaging and I like the color stories, and I want to hang on to these more so for comparison than anything, because I am getting into C Beauty as much as I am. But then the other one that we have is this one, and this one is even lighter than the other one. So if you want a more subtle look and you want to try a fantastic formula from a C Beauty brand, I do really enjoy Color Rose. I don't know if it's my personal aesthetic, but it is a really good formula and I did enjoy those. This one right here, so this is from Dramo. This is the Weird Nightmare palette, and I love this one. I mean, y'all saw it in my top 24, but this is just such a beautiful grungy rainbow palette. I love that you have some deeper shades, you've got some pastels, you've got 3 beautiful shimmers in here, and the formula in here absolutely blew me away. I think this is definitely a top C Beauty brand for me at this point. It's really hard to gauge because you get a lot of fallout with these, and I'm someone who likes to do my base makeup before I do my eyes, so for me it's a little bit more challenging, but the looks always turn out so beautiful, and the colors are so vibrant, and the shimmers are insanely shifty. But I didn't get nearly as much fallout with these as I do from some other brands, and I just love this palette. I thought it was so unique, so beautiful, and it just it makes me so happy when I look at it. I don't think I'm getting rid of any of this, by the way. But let's go into these 3 right here from Girl Cult. So these are their little quads that they have. Like, they are so beautiful. Like, these are just a little work of art. Like, these kind of remind me of the one from Byredo, and I love how pretty they are. Are they easy to store? No, but it is what it is. So the first one that we have is, I believe this one is called the Wizard of Oz palette. I could be wrong. I used to have these in the boxes with the writing on them, and it took up too much space, so I just got rid of it. But that is this one right here. This one is one of my favorites out of these 3. The next one that we have is something like Little Mermaid or something like that, mermaid something, but absolutely beautiful. It's blue and brown. This shade right here is so insanely shifty and sparkly on the lid. Like, I really do enjoy this formula. I don't get nearly as much fallout from these as I do from some of these other brands either. And then the last one I have, I do not remember the name of this one at all, but this one is beautiful. I didn't expect to love this one as much as I do, but oh my gosh, this right here is so beautiful on the lid. It's like a black and red shade, and it just looks stunning. But those are gonna stay. Let's go into my ones from Kenyon or Cheery Up. Same brand, it just depends on what you want to call it. So the first one I have is going to be Runaway Princess, and this one I did a comparison to some Natasha Denona palettes, and the formula in here, incredible. I think that this performs better than the one from Natasha Denona. I know you now have me on camera saying that, but the formula in here is just so good. Kenyon has an incredible formula. I will say some of the darker shades you do get a little bit more fallout with, but I don't struggle with fallout as much with this as I do with a couple of other brands that, again, we're going to talk about in just a minute, but absolutely beautiful. I love that one. This one was a collab with Freya 86. This is the Floating Life palette, and this is beautiful. Not my favorite because I'm not a big fan of like cool tone grays, but I love this little section of the palette over here. I really enjoyed playing with it. The formula in here is incredible. The shimmers are so, so beautiful. I really love the layout of the palettes as well. I think they're just fun and they're beautiful, and I really do enjoy this brand. And then another one I have is the Monologue palette. I believe this was one of the first ones that they ever released, and look at how beautiful that is. All of my green lovers out there, my neutral lovers who want something a little bit more colorful, this is stunning. I have really enjoyed playing with this one as well, and I love the greens in here. They are beautiful. Moving on to the Shall We palettes that I have. I absolutely love this formula. This is a top favorite of mine as far as C Beauty goes, but I have 4 right here. You will see some more C Beauty a little bit later when we get to palettes that I just haven't gotten around to yet and are like sitting in the queue to be played with. But the first one we have is the Wolfa palette, and this one is so, so good. I love the color story in here. You only get 2 mattes and you get 3 shimmers, and this one's definitely a little bit more on the chunkier side, but the look that I created with this palette was so, so stunning, and I don't get any fallout with my Shall We formula, so that right there is a pro. And then these two right here are they're like normal palettes. They do come in like a bigger size, and they come in a mini version, and the mini versions are quite a bit cheaper than the full size versions, but I like the pan size of the full sizes, and you'll see that one in just a minute and another one later. So I do really love these. I wish I had gotten them in the full size because the pans are just so small. But the first one that we have is the Somber Garden palette. This one was in collaboration with Freya 86, and look at that beautiful color story. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's cool tones, but it's cool tones that I like and that I reach for, and you can see what I mean by how small the pan sizes are. Like, look at it next to my finger. I don't have huge hands, but I don't have tiny little hands either, but I can't get my finger in there. I mean, now I use brushes to apply my shimmers, but there was a time when I only used my fingers exclusively, and I just found it really hard to get my finger in there. It's hard to get a brush in there. The formula is fantastic, but I definitely wish I had picked up the full size of that one. And the same for this one. This is the Mist Witch palette, and this one is beautiful as well. I love the color story, and I want to show you a comparison because they're definitely different. This one's a little bit more warm tone, and this one's a little bit more cool tone, but I love both of them just the same. But this was fantastic. This was the first one I ever tried from the brand, and I really fell in love with the formula. I love the purples in here, the shimmers in here. This green right here is so beautiful on the lid. Like, I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but it's definitely got a really pretty shift to it. And then we have the Elena palette. This one's a little bit older. I don't know how old. I don't know. I'm still learning as far as C Beauty goes, so I don't know exactly when these came out, but this one is so, so pretty. But you see that pan size difference? I mean, look at that. It makes a world of difference, and to me, it's worth the $15, $20 price difference that these carry. It may be less than that, but this one I thought was beautiful. I did get, I think it was this shade right here. There was one in it, and then they included a single of it as well because this one was supposedly so hard pressed. I don't know. I never got around to trying it. I just switched it out and threw the other one away, but I really like this one. It's a really pretty neutral palette, and the shimmers in here are beautiful. The formula is incredible, and I do really enjoy Shall We. They are a favorite of mine. They're one that I get excited when they release something new. All right, I have these from Anthemy. This is a newer C Beauty brand. I believe it's another indie brand. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Like I said, I'm learning, and I really like these, but I don't love them as much as I thought I would. So the first one that they came out with is the Butterfly Shadow and Backlight. This is beautiful, and this is still my favorite out of all of them, but look at that shift. Oh My gosh, it is so incredibly beautiful. This one was pricey for what it is though, I have to say, but if you order on Look Healthy, they always have coupons and stuff like that, so make sure you go to the coupon section so you can get a little bit of money off. They do sales and things like that, but the formula in here was really, really nice. I was really blown away with this one. Not my favorite formula, again, because you get a ton of fallout with these, but the looks were just so beautiful with this palette. So when they came out with 4 more, I picked up 3 of them, and the first one is going to be the Chapter of Deep Sea palette. This one is beautiful as well, but I got even more fallout with this one than I did with this one. And like I said, I'm someone who likes to do my base makeup before I do my eyes, so it's a little bit of a challenge for me, but this is such a beautiful color story. The formula in here is incredible, but I don't think the formula in this one is as good as what I had in here. So it's almost like they're going backwards, in my opinion at least. I don't know if everybody feels that way. And the other one is the Gaze of Green Snake palette. This one is beautiful. This one is my favorite of the 4 they recently came out with. I just love this shade right here. These really pretty pinks, the greens in here, so stunning. But again, the formula is not as good as the first one. And then the last one is the Dream of Moth Flying palette, and this one, I was a little disappointed when I saw it in person because there's only 2 matte shades in here. These 3 are the matte with the sparkle in them, but I kind of struggled a little bit more with that formula. I don't know why. It should perform pretty much the same. The shimmers in here are beautiful, and I did really like the mattes, but there was something about these 3 right here that just, I don't know. I was able to make them work and it wasn't awful, but it just doesn't make me want to reach into this palette as much because of that reason. So I don't know. I'm a little on the fence as to whether or not I will keep testing out this brand just because they are a little bit pricey and it seems like their formula is a little inconsistent. But I have them. They're beautiful and we're going to keep them. And then we have Narimi, and this is a brand that I have fallen in love with, but at the same time it also irritates me because there is so much fallout with these. Like, it is an insane amount of fallout, and I just, you know, you get into a habit and it's really hard to change your routine of how you do your makeup. But let's run through these anyway. So the first one we have is the Exotic Sheep palette. I have not done anything with this one yet, and I moved these into my collection because these are older from the brand, and I'm sure at some point I can do shorts and probably throw these into Throwback Thursdays and things like that. But since they're not like new and these come in and out of stock so frequently, I decided to just throw them in my collection and we'll get to them when we do. But look at that beautiful color story. Oh my gosh, that's where they get me. They get me with the packaging, they get me with the color story. Their shimmers are beautiful, but the fallout, I cannot get past the fallout. So love-hate relationship. Love so more than hate. But moving on, we have the Light Brown Amber palette. Also, I want to point out that City Beauty seems to have different palette names depending on where you buy them from. I've had a couple of y'all point that out to me, and I've noticed that as I've browsed some other websites. So like all of these are based off of the names that I found on Look Healthy because that's where I got them all. But like these especially, the names might be different on C Beauty Mall or Yes Style or things like that. So just something I wanted to point out. But this one I'm excited about because this is a very like warm neutral leaning palette, and I'm curious as to whether or not this is going to have the same amount of fallout. I love that it's matte heavy. You have 2 beautiful shimmers, and this one right here, like, I am so excited about that shimmer. It's so sparkly and just beautiful. And then we have the Night Spider. This was the first one I ever got, and it's absolutely stunning, but holy smokes, the fallout with this one. It was a lot, but absolutely beautiful. I'm not a big fan of the pan shape. I wish they did square or maybe even round pans, or maybe if they made these just a tiny bit wider, it would be better. But you know, it is what it is. It happens. But this shade right here is so beautiful. And again, look at those shifts. Ugh. C Beauty, just, they kill it as far as the formulas and the shifts go. And then we have the Purple Deadwood palette, another one I haven't played with yet, but so beautiful. I love the shades in here. I love the sort of mustardy, muky, nasty shade that they have right here. I know I'm like describing it with disdain, but it looks so beautiful. And then the last one I have is the Jackdaw palette, and this one did come with a broken shade. I was able to press it back in. It's this one right here, so it just came a little bit broken, but it's okay, it's fine. But this is so beautiful. I loved how bright and vibrant this palette is, and I'm really nervous about the fallout, but at the same time, I cannot wait to play with this one. Alright y'all, so we have made it to the home stretch of this eyeshadow palette collection and declutter video, and this is all we have left to go through. It's still a lot of palettes, but compared to everything else, we're right at the end of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and start pulling stuff right off the top. So the first one I have is the Dragon Eye palette from What's Beauty. This was a birthday gift to me from me, and I just love it. First of all, that packaging is beautiful. I love dragons. They're just, oh, I wish we had them. I know that sounds insane, but I love dragons. I love fantasy. I love mythology. I love all of it. And this is so beautiful. It's very neutral, but it's more of like a purpley pinky neutral leaning palette with some pops of greens and stuff like that for the scales. And What's Beauty has an incredible formula. I was blown away from this, but they definitely do a lot more neutral leaning palettes, which is why I only have the one. But I could see myself picking up more in the future, especially if they come out with something new and exciting that really kind of catches my eye. But that is going to stay. This one from Be Perfect, this is the Gravity palette. This one came out last year, I believe. It's the only one I have from the brand, and I got this because I wanted something more cool tone neutral leaning, and then once I picked this one up, everybody and their mother came out with a cool tone neutral palette, and this is really pretty, and I think I'm going to hold on to this one for now and see if I can get some use out of it. But if I don't find myself reaching into it, it may get decluttered in my next collection and declutter series, which will be in a year from now. But the formula is really nice. The shimmers are really pretty, and I do really enjoy it, but we'll see how much use I get out of it moving forward. This one right here is from Rebel Rouge Labs. It's the only one I have from the brand, and I bought this one for one reason and one reason only, and that reason is because it is a Labyrinth themed palette, and Labyrinth is one of my all-time favorite movies. I just love David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly together. I love the story. It's weird, it's wacky, it's fun, it's Jim Henson, and it makes me happy, so I picked this one up. This is the As the World Falls Down palette, and it is so boring. It is so neutral, but I thought the formula in here was really, really nice, but it has like these really pretty pops in it, and I enjoy it. I don't use it that much, but I'm okay with that because, like I said, I bought it strictly for the fact that it is a Labyrinth themed palette, and like good formula, but not anything that like really makes me want to come after the brand and buy more from them. I do believe that they're on Etsy though. Alright, this one from Wander Beauty. This is the Trailblazer palette, and I got this one in a BoxyCharm, and I was really impressed with this one. I really enjoyed the formula in here. I like that it's a neutral with a twist palette. You have these really pretty greens over here, this really pretty warm neutral shade in the middle, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to go ahead and hang on to this one for now, see if I can get some more use out of it. And again, if I don't find myself reaching for it, I will pass it on. A lot of these palettes in here are like one-offs, things I've tried for the first time. Some of them are things that I got in BoxyCharms and things like that. So this is where a lot of the decluttering is going to come in. But this one from Laura Geller, this is the Wildflower Wishes palette, and again, I got this one in a BoxyCharm. It is really pretty. The formula was really nice, but I don't see myself reaching into this one. I'm opening it and looking at it and going, oh my gosh, that's really pretty, but I have a huge collection full of shadows that I absolutely love and adore, and formulas that are better than this one. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on. Let's do Cleona since it's sitting right here. So the first one I have is the Dragon Fruit palette. This was in collaboration with Emily Violet Marie, and this is the second one that I've ever had. The first one was in the original plastic packaging. Mine broke, didn't realize it, went to pick it up, and the bottom fell off and everything shattered. So I was destroyed. I was so upset because this is not a cheap palette and I absolutely love it. But whenever she kind of repackaged it into cardboard packaging, I picked it up and I love it. I have used it a couple times at this point, and I just think the shades in here are beautiful. Now these are not going to be as shifty and reflective as their stained glass shadows, but they are still really pretty and they look beautiful on the eye. So that is going to stay. Hello, Keeps go over here. And then I have the three that they came out with this year. They don't do palettes a whole lot, but the Paleo and the Archeo palette, which are these two right here, are reformulated re-releases from the brand. So they did these a long time ago, and then they brought them back and they brought out another one with it. And I do really like these. I struggle with the mattes in here. I find them to be a little bit difficult to work with. Not so difficult that I won't reach for these. I just need to know that I have the extra time to do some extra blending when I do. But first we have the Paleo palette, and this one is so, so pretty. I absolutely love it. I think this was my favorite one of the three. Yes, this one, what? No, hold on. Yes, this one is my favorite one of the three. I had to remember, and I just really enjoyed this one more so than the other ones. It's the color story more than anything, but the shimmers in here are incredibly beautiful, and I am going to hang on to these because these were wildly expensive, y'all. I lost my mind when I picked these up, but this is the Archeo palette. This one is beautiful as well. This one is very neutral, but you do have some pops of colors in here. And again, it's the shimmers. The shimmers are just incredibly beautiful, and I really enjoy this one. But then we have the Oceano palette, and this one is really, really pretty. It's colorful, it's fun, it's bright. I kind of struggle to do cohesive looks with this palette just because I feel like it's a little chaotic. I have been able to do it, but it's nothing outside of like a monochromatic look. So I have a really hard time getting super creative with my looks with this one, but I do really enjoy this one. This one has some of my favorite shimmers compared to the other two, and these are all magnetic, so you could pop them out and rearrange them and make your own color stories, and who knows, maybe I'll do that. I'm not one that typically does. I like to kind of leave my palettes the way that they were imagined and the way that they were curated, but who knows? You never know. Things change, preferences change, and we grow. This one right here is from a brand called Mockingbird Beauty, and I don't think they're around anymore. This one came out, I want to say last summer, maybe the year before, and I thought the packaging was cute. I thought she did a really good job promoting the brand, and I thought the color story was really pretty, but she released this and she has done nothing since. I haven't seen her on social media, and the formula in here was okay. It wasn't great, but I love to support a small indie brand, a new brand, kind of, you know, root them on and push them in the right direction. But I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one because I don't reach for it, and I don't think they're a brand anymore, and the formula wasn't anything that, you know, is going to make me want to reach into it. Like I said, I was hoping for more from the brand, but that one's going to go. Let's do these two from Moonslice Beauty. So I got both of these in two different ice cream beauty boxes, and the first one that I got was, I believe, this one. This was the first one that I got, and this is a monochromatic purple palette. You do have like some pops of pinks and some berries in here, but absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed the formula in this one. I didn't have any issues with it. I thought the shimmers were really nice. They do have some really pretty reflection to them. They're not going to be super flippy or anything like that, but I really like the formula in here. And then I got this one in another ice cream beauty box. This is the New Moon palette, and I was really disappointed with the formula in here. It just didn't perform the same. I struggled with some of these deeper shades in here. They just didn't want to build up and adhere to my eye, and it is really pretty, but I have this color story a million times over, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one, but I am going to keep this one for now. We'll see how much use I get out of it moving forward, but that one is going to go. These from Gloss Gods, these are their Let's Pop collection. They came out with 6 5-pan palettes. They're all monochromatic, and I jumped all over it. I don't know what it was about this that just immediately caught my eye, and why I needed all 6 of them, I'll never know, but these are really good. I enjoyed the formula in here, and I like the color story. So the first one that we have is Blue Pop. This one is so pretty. Oh my gosh, the shimmers in here are incredible. You can definitely see some of the oil kind of leaking out. So these are a little bit more on the oily side, but surprisingly enough, I don't experience much creasing with these. I think I got maybe a little bit with one of them. I don't remember which one at this point, but it wasn't enough to like make me not want to reach for it. But that is the first one. And then we have Green Pop, which is this one right here. I do wish that there was more matte shades in this one because this is like really deep and that's really light, but still very pretty. We have Pink Pop. Look at how fun this one is. Oh my gosh, I love it with this really deep kind of burgundy shade over here. So fun. And then we have Peach Pop. This one is not my favorite just because these shades are really hard for me to pull off, but I don't want to separate the girls. You know what I mean? They're here together. They came together. They're going to stay together. And then we have Purple Pop. Ugh, love it. Oh my gosh. So pretty. Purple, say no more. And then the last one we have is Nude Pop. And this one's really pretty as well. I know it's very unassuming, but it's a neutral palette. The shimmers in here are beautiful. And I do believe that these are magnetic. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But if they are, you could pop them out and move them around. But I'm going to keep all 6 of these because I do really enjoy them. And if I ever want a fun, bright, monochromatic moment, I have those to go into. All right, this is the last of the palette, so let's get through these, and let's start with this one from LH Cosmetics that I still have yet to use. I purchased it because I was curious about the formula, but this is the Creator palette. This is so pretty. This is very fall tone to me, and I'm definitely going to do something with this. I think I'm just going to kind of do a short or a reel with it, just kind of creating a look, because I don't see this one ever winning a Throwback Thursday, and it's kind of a waste of my time to do a dedicated video with this one. Maybe I'll throw it in with like a get ready with me, who knows, but either way, I am definitely going to get use out of this one this year. I love the color story, and this is so cute and fun, and I've heard really good things about her brand. Then we have the Queen Bee palette, and y'all, Colored Rain is no more. They went under this year. Like, I did not have that on my 2024 bingo card, but there's a lot of things I didn't have on my bingo card for this year. But this one is really pretty. I bought this one because it's Allie Dawson's favorite fall palette. She goes on and on about it every single year, so I finally decided to pick it up and test it out, and I have not tested it out yet, and now you can't get it anymore, but I still definitely want to create a look with it, and I will at some point. Again, it'll probably be a short or something like that. This one from Moira Cosmetics. This is the Loved by You palette, and yes, that's the name of it. The formula in here was really nice. Like, I was really impressed with the performance of this palette, but it only has 2 shimmers in here, so I don't really reach into it, and I have other palettes with these same colors in here. I definitely want to try more from the brand, like some of their bigger ones in the cardboard packaging that have a little bit more variety to them, but I like that I got to test this one out, see if I was even going to like the formula, and I really do. But I am going to declutter this palette, and in fact, y'all, I don't know why I put these 2 over here. These go over here, this goes over here with declutter. We are losing our mind. Okay, this little quad right here from Delancey I got in an ice cream beauty box, and this is supposed to be full of like multi-chromes and duochromes. I can't remember, there's nothing written on it, but these are so underwhelming. Like, this is the only one that has a flip to it, and even still, it's not that strong. This is, I believe, a C Beauty indie brand. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I have seen this brand on the Look Healthy store, and they have all C Beauty brands, but I just found it to be very underwhelming and just not anything that I'm going to reach for, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter that one. This one is the little P. Louise palette that I got in the budget box that I signed up for, and I have not used this. I am not going to use it. I mean, that is not a me color story. I have these shades in other palettes. I definitely want to try her formula, but her palettes are so big and so cumbersome and just so overwhelming, and the little curated ones that are just a little bit smaller that I really do like, they've been sold out, so I haven't picked anything else up yet. I definitely plan on it, but I'm going to get rid of this one because it is virtually untouched and it can go on to somebody else. The One Size Wicked palette. They came out with this one earlier this year, and this is a collab with the Broadway show of Wicked. I know Ariana Grande has since done a collab with the Wicked movie through her brand REM, but this is really good. The performance of this was really nice. I'm not the biggest fan of the color stories in here. I feel like they could have done Galinda a little bit more justice than what they did. This side over here makes total sense. Like, I think this side is perfectly done, but there's something about the Galinda side that I wanted something a little bit more. I feel like, yeah, this just could have been done better, but the formula in here was really nice. I do really enjoy the blushes, and I want to hang on to this because I do really love Broadway musicals. I love Wicked. I think it's a fun story. I am not a fan of The Wizard of Oz. I hate that story so much, but this one is a story I can get behind. I love it, so I'm going to hang on to that one. From Salem Cosmetics, we had the Grunge Life palette, and she has another one I have been dying to pick up. It's Salem and the Witch, I believe is what it's called, and I really want that one, but it's been out of stock. But look at that color story. Oh my gosh, it is fall grungy goodness. These are the tones that I absolutely love, and this formula is so good. She's got an incredible formula. It's easy to work with. It's nice and pigmented, but it's also buildable at the same time, so it's not so pigmented that it's immediately going to get away from you and you're like, oh god, what do I do now? Like, where do I go from here? And the shimmers in here I thought were absolutely beautiful. I love that she's got different formulas as far as her shimmers go. This one's a little bit more chunky and flaky. This one's very smooth and reflective and shifty. Like, look at that. Oh my gosh. And then you have 2 really pretty like metallic shades in here as well, but this is going to stay. my Tiny Marvel palettes from Sydney Grace in collaboration with Mel Thompson. Say No More. This is going nowhere. I love this palette. I did get to use it in a Throwback Thursday very recently, and I created like the most beautiful like green and gold look, if I do say so myself. Like, it even surprised me, the look that I got. It was something I never would have thought I would have gotten with this palette, but I just love this one so much, and I really enjoyed watching Mel Thompson. I did not know her. I was not a part of the community, but I watched her religiously. I loved her so much, and I still miss her. Every now and then I'll go back and put on one of her videos for like comfort, just because she was so vibrant and fun, and she was so incredibly knowledgeable, and she was the one that really made me want to get into luxury beauty. At the time I couldn't, but now I feel like, I don't know, like I'm just kind of remembering her every time I purchase something luxury. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on. So we're down to the end, y'all. So this one right here, this is the Hunter and the Prey palette from Blairdale MUA Cosmetics. And Blairdale, he did a collaboration with Ladybug Glow last year. Love that palette. That was the Castle of Horrors palette. And this year he came out with his own brand, and I love Blair. He is so sweet. He's so funny. He is just insanely beautiful. He does drag, and oh my gosh, he is fierce and beautiful, and I love him so much. But his formula, y'all, this knocked my socks off. It made my top 24. I love the color story in here. It is very autumnal. The shimmers are in here are incredible, and I just found this to be so easy to work with. He does have another one that he just came out with for winter. It's on the way to me. I think it was supposed to be here today or yesterday, and it's not here. It's in Dallas, so I don't think it'll be here before I leave to go out of town, and even if it is, I won't have a video until next year. But that is coming, and I'm really excited about that one. But I love this palette. I love this formula, and I am so incredibly excited for him. From Beauty Moon Cosmetics, this was in collaboration with Ice Cream Beauty, and this was their Hope and Bloom palette they gave us for the October Ice Cream Beauty box for breast cancer awareness. It was in October, We Wear Pink. This is beautiful. This formula is incredible. I don't go for these shades on their own very often. I don't do a lot of just monochromatic pink looks, but I was really blown away with the performance of this palette. The matte formula was incredible, very pigmented, easy to work with. The shimmers in here were incredible, and it's definitely a brand that has been put on my radar. I had to resist a lot of the new releases at the end of the year because I knew I wasn't going to get to all of them because I was going out of town, but I definitely want to pick up more from them in the future. So that is going to stay. Alright, from Sinful Echoes, we have the Lotus Bloom palette. This is a brand that I've only tried once. It's the only palette that I have from them. And the formula in here was really nice. And they got me with the color story in here. And upon looking at it, there's not a whole lot of variety as far as the color story goes in here. I mean, we've got a lot of the same shades of purple and then some pops of blue. But the formula is really nice. I do really like their formula. I think they've got a great one. I definitely want to try more from the brand. The shimmers down here are so beautiful, but like, look, if I can get them to show up, the shifts, they are so beautiful and shifty and reflective and smooth on the lid, and I do really enjoy their formula, so I definitely want to try more from them. This palette right here. Okay, let's chat about this one for a second. So this is from the brand Notoriously Morbid. This is the Unearthly Aura palette, and I was so excited when I saw them sneaking this one. They showed the cover art, they showed parts of the palette, then they showed the whole thing, and I was like, I need that palette. It is full of beautiful shimmer shades, and I was so excited about it. And I ordered this one on launch, and y'all, it took me 3 months to receive this palette. It was not listed anywhere that this was a pre-order, so that was really irritating because the longer it took, the excitement went away, the frustration kicked in. I had messaged the brand about it, and they told me that there was some unforeseen circumstances and it kind of put them behind, but they were working quickly with their I'm trying to think of the wording that they used, but they were working quickly with people to kind of assemble the palettes and get them out to people. And one, it irritated me that there was no update from anyone, and whenever I had emailed them about it, they told me that my palette should be going out that week, and it was 2 weeks later before it shipped and another week before it got to me. So it ended up being a total of 3 months, and at that point the excitement was gone. They had released like 2 or 3 more palettes at that point, so I never did anything with it. I swatched it, and the formula in here is really, really nice. I have not played with it on the lid yet, so I do want to hang on to it and play with it. So I'm thinking of doing something with it. I don't know what yet. Maybe just in my own time, maybe a Throwback Thursday with a neutral palette. I don't know, but I want to play with the formula before I decide to just ultimately declutter it. But all of that makes me not want to purchase from the brand because I don't like it. Like, just update people. It takes 5 seconds to type up an email and send it to your mass list and just let everybody know, hey, this is what's going on. But even the fact that they weren't transparent with the fact that this was a pre-order, that irritated me because I was like, ooh, that should be here in like a week. I could do like a really fun swatch party, and it never happened. So yeah, I'm over the whole pre-order thing. Like, just wait till you get them in stock and just sell them then, because I've noticed Unearthly does a lot of pre-orders now. This was a pre-order. There's another brand, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, that they do a lot of pre-orders, and it's just frustrating. Wait for the palettes to get in stock and then list them on your website to sell. Like, it's not hard. I understand a pre-order if it's going to be like maybe a week out, but when we're talking months, that's ridiculous. And makeup is so just like fast paced. It comes and goes all the time that by the time you get it, you're not excited about it anymore. But let's move on. I'm going to get off my soapbox. That was my PSA for this video. Okay, this one right here is from Wicked Sisters. This is the Invocation of the Spirit palette. This is a, I believe, New Orleans based indie brand, and I've been following them for a while, and I was really intrigued about the brand, and I hadn't heard anybody talking about them. So when they did a huge anniversary sale, I picked up this palette. Now, this is a pressed glitter right here. Mine came shattered. I pressed it back in because I wanted y'all to see what the palette looked like for the video I used it in. Honestly, if it breaks again, it'll just go in the trash and it'll be an empty pan. But I was really impressed with the formula in here. I thought the mattes performed really nicely. I do wish that there was a little bit more punch from the shimmers, especially as far as an indie brand goes. And we do have some of these more like sequin shades in here. We've got a lot of different textures and formulas going on. Again, I could do without the pressed glitter, but it definitely left me open to trying more from the brand if there was another color story that really resonates with me. They've got a ton of palettes on their website, and I went with this one because every other one that I wanted was sold out, and I just really wanted to try the brand. But not disappointed in the formula at all. It's not a favorite. I feel like it could be elevated just a little bit more, but it is what it is. I'm going to hang on to this one for now. This one from Give Me Glow, this is the Pastel Dreams palette, and this was the first pastel palette that I ever got. It is huge, it is beautiful. I have a million pastels at this point, and this brand doesn't even make this palette anymore. They have reimagined it, reformulated. It doesn't even look the same. It is so much more bright and vibrant now than this one, so there's not even any point in holding on to this for comparison purposes as far as formula goes. And I have other pastel palettes in my collection that I'm going to reach for over this one, so I am going to declutter this one and move that out of my collection. And then the last one right here before we get into another section. I know I told y'all this was the end, but I still have the palettes that I'm still testing out and haven't used yet that I want to show y'all, so bear with me. I know this is long, but this is the Petal Perfect palette. Say that 3 times fast. The Petal Perfect palette from Profusion, and I picked this up because I was intrigued by the fact that it's a 35 pan palette, and it was like 12 bucks, and the formula in here was okay. I have to be honest. Like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it wasn't anything that I have reached for since that video. Honestly, I never should have purchased it if I'm being completely honest. I started out with this thought of for content, let's play with it, let's get a video up, and I have really enjoyed it. I love making content, I love playing with new stuff, but I want to be more selective moving forward. I want to get into the mindset of it's something that I do want and I can make content with it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a fine line there, and I feel like I got all caught up in everything, and it's just, I never should have bought this palette. There's definitely a couple of them that I bought for content purposes, and they're things that I normally wouldn't have picked up. So Moving forward, I won't be doing that anymore, but that was a very long, breathy way of saying I am going to declutter this palette. The formula in here was nice, but everything is very kind of sheer on the lid. They build up to a point, but they don't build up to what you see in the pan. The shimmers in here are okay. They are a little bit lackluster. They're not nearly as vibrant on the lid and things like that, but this one is going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and clear these out, and then we're going to move in the palettes that I have not played with and are like in the queue for a video or I am still testing. All right, so this little pile right here, well, it's not exactly a little pile, is it? But these are all of the palettes that I have recently tested out on my channel, and I am still working my way through. Some of them I have used every single shade, but I have not rolled them into a palette ranking video. So I'm assuming I will probably have one up pretty early in January, because there's definitely some of these I have my full thoughts on. But I'm just going to run through them. I'm not going to give you my full thoughts right now, but I do want to show you them because they are in my collection. So the first one is this one from Viseart. This is the Ceranusse Etendu palette, and look at how beautiful that is. Oh my gosh, love Viseart. Actually really love this color story. It is very kind of cool toned, neutral leaning, but still absolutely beautiful. All of these, I want to say, will be included in next year's eyeshadow palette ranking video. So I know I didn't get to rank every single palette this year because I ran out of time, but these palettes right here will be rolled into that. So just to kind of let you know that all the ones that didn't really make the cutoff will be in next year's palette ranking. And I'm planning on ranking every single palette next year. But this is from Singe Beauty. This is the Galactic Visitor palette. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Angelica Nyqvist killed it with the formula in this palette. I have really enjoyed the looks that I've created. The formula is stunning. It's very easy to work with. The shimmers in here are incredibly beautiful, and the packaging is adorable. We have the two holiday releases from Odin's Eye. I have featured these in several videos at this point, but these are really nice. These weren't my favorite color stories in the world. The formula in here I thought was really nice, very on par with what they've had in the past. I still don't think it's quite as good as what I've tried like further back from the brand, but not bad at all, not disappointed. But this is the Silvery Bliss palette. And then we have the Rosy Jingle palette, and these two definitely were not my favorite out of their holiday releases, but they are really pretty. I have the first four, so now I have all of them. Let's do this one. This one is from Menagerie. This is the Polar Lights palette. I just did a video with this one fairly recently. I say fairly recently, but by the time you're seeing this, it's been a few weeks at this point. But this was so cute. I love the color story. I love the packaging, and I did really enjoy the formula. From Gourmande Girls, the Frozen Kiss palette. I did receive this one in PR, and y'all, this is incredibly beautiful. Doodles by the Bunny did do the artwork for this one. It's not in collaboration with her, but this color story, it is so beautiful. It's like a muted winter color story with a twist. This one's incredible. The formula in here is incredible. I love this one so much. We have some from Glamlite. We have the Trick or Treat palette. This one came out in October, and I didn't get it till like mid-November, and then jury duty happened and I never got around to it. So that's why there's such like a backup, I feel like, of all these palettes. But this color story, gorgeous. I've never seen the movie. I don't know if I even really care to see the movie, but the color story is what got me with this one. I could care less about the IP, but such a stunning color story. Really enjoyed that one. The Wicked Widow Tales of Terror, a Haunting palette, is another one that was a pre-order for a freaking Halloween release, and I didn't get it till November. I just did a short with the collection, but this color story, holy smokes, this may be a new favorite from the brand. I just love this one so much. The Unearthly Not Normal Remastered palette. I've already shown this one once, but here it is again. This is my keep. I got rid of the other one, and this one is just beautiful. I do think she did a really good job as far as remastering this one and expanding the color story. I love that she kept the integrity and even the cover art of the original one. From, let's do DD Signature real quick. So I have two from DD Signature. Both of these came in my Ice Cream Beauty box. So I had the option of adding on the other one, so I added it on. These are both previous releases, but they've been reformulated, so I never had the other ones, but I have these now. The first one is the Jingle Bell Ruby palette. This shade came shattered, so I just pressed it back in, but such a beautiful Christmas color story. The formula in here is really good. And then we have the Classic Autumn palette, and this one my mirror came broken. I know, y'all, the struggle is real, but the formula in here, I struggled with it when I played with the first time, but I think it was the eyeshadow base that I used. Maybe it didn't work well with it. I used my MAC paint pot and I don't normally have an issue, but I used this one again and I went in with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base and I didn't have any issues as far as patching goes, so I'm still testing this one out. That's why I keep testing them and I just give you my first initial impression thoughts in those videos. But this color story is beautiful, so I'm really hoping that the quality moving forward is as good as I want it to be. Another one from Glamlite. This is the Willy Wonka palette, and y'all, I love this one so much. This is the Good Glamlite formula. The shimmers are sparkly and so beautiful. The matte formula is incredible, and I really enjoyed playing with that one. From Nomad, we have the Polar Express palette. Look at how cute and beautiful this one is. We love the Polar Express around this house. My oldest son watched the Polar Express for probably a good solid year straight, like every single day. I remember he would be in his room and I could just hear on the monitor the choo-choo train. I could hear it when it was approaching the house. And it was like, yep, he's watching it again. And I mean, it would end and I'd go in there and start it over and he would just carry on with his life. And I love this palette. It is beautiful. Color story is incredible. This is the Cosmic Beauty Sinister palette. This one came in the mystery box that they came out with. So if you haven't gotten yours yet and you don't want to see the color story in here, look away for just a minute. I will tell you when you can open your eyes. I'm just going to flash it really quick. But this is the color story right there. So beautiful. Absolutely love it. Still have not played around with that yet, but I'm getting there. I've just had a lot going on. All right, it is safe to look, but that is going to stay. I do have their new holiday palette on the way to me. It is not here yet. I've got a couple palettes on the way to me that are just not here yet. So that one is on the way. It'll probably show up while I'm out of town, and I will play with that one in January. And then we have my little luxury palettes right here. I literally just did a video with this one, but this is the Hermes Quad. So beautiful. This one is in 06 Ombres Midori's. Love it. Formula's fantastic. Hate the price point. I would not pay full price for these just because they are outrageously expensive. From Lisa Eldridge, we have the Muse palette. I did really enjoy the formula in here. It definitely makes me open to exploring more from the brand, but I did really enjoy that one. Then we have my Chanel Quad right here. This one is in Divination. And that is what that one looks like right there. I was so intrigued that it was colorful from a luxury brand. And then the last one that I have is still in my testing makeup before we get into the in the queue to be tested section is this one from Byredo. This is in the shade Transcendent, and this is a limited edition, but oh my gosh, this was my favorite out of the 4 that I tried. If you haven't watched that video yet, I just loved the formula in here. It was so good. I love my indie. I love my luxury. I have multiple makeup personalities. I am who I am. I love it all so much, and I don't discriminate. I will try it all, and it makes me happy. That's ultimately what it comes down to, is makeup just makes me so happy, and it's a passion of mine. But let me move these out of the way, and we're going to pull in the ones that I still need to do something with. Alright, so this is officially what I have left in my collection, and these are all the newer eyeshadow palettes that I still need to create content with. So this is a little sneak peek as to what is to come for next year, but let's start with this one right here. This is from Ensley Rain. This is the Happy Go Lucky palette. They're doing like this little critter series, like one palette every single month. I actually got this one in the December Ice Cream Beauty box, but it arrived too late. I'm not going to have time to play with that box as a whole and do something, but I definitely want to roll this eyeshadow palette in, maybe just do a short with everything I got in that. I don't know, but this is what the little palette right here looks like. This shade up here did come shattered, but I was able to press it back in, and I'm looking at it on camera and I'm pretty impressed with my pressing skills. Like, you can't even tell, but super cute. Cannot wait to play with that one. This is the newest palette from Cryptine. This is a 6-pan all shimmer palette. Like, look at how beautiful that is. Oh my gosh, it is so sparkly and so fun. This one is from Sugar Drizzle. This is the Snowdrop Fairy palette. I am ashamed that I have not done anything with this one yet, but I definitely need to. It is so fun, so pretty, and that one is going to be coming. From Shall we have the, what's it called? The Farsha palette. This is their most newest launch, and y'all, look look at that color story. Oh my god, I am so excited to play with this one. I don't even know what I want to play with first when I get back. So if you have any ideas of which one of these you are most excited about, let me know down below, because I do have all of these, and then I still have the one from Blair Dale. I have the holiday release from Cosmic Beauty, and then I still have the new little 6-pan palettes from Glamlite. I did order those. So that is all that is left on the... Nope. I placed an order on eSim. I ordered a couple of palettes, and those are actually supposed to be here today. Ooh, that's exciting. But anyways, those are not going to make this video. But that is what I have left on the way to me, and that's it. I have nothing else that's headed my way. But this one is beautiful. I cannot wait to play with this one as well. I need to quit talking. I talk too much. This one is from Black Moon Cosmetics. It's the Cat's Meow, and I picked this one up because I love watching declutter videos, and I watched Betty Jean's declutter video, and she is so picky about her palettes and what she will try, and she picked this one up, and I was like, I need that palette. I am not a cat person. I am very allergic to cats. My youngest is mildly allergic to cats, but there's nothing about the packaging and the name of it that really draws me in. I don't have an issue with cats. I just not a cat person because I'm allergic to them. But look at this color story. I love that color story. Isn't that fun? I have never tried their eyeshadows before. I have lots of their lip products. I really enjoy them. So I'm excited to test out this formula and create some looks with it. So I don't know if I'll do a designated video with this one, or if I'll just roll it into like a multiple palettes, multiple looks type video. But this is all the stuff that is coming in January. This one right here from Girl Cult, I've had this one sitting here for a while. They released a whole collection, and I only picked up one palette. I was really proud of myself, but this is the one that I picked up, and look at how beautiful that is with the blues and the browns. This is a cream shade right here, and that's the reason I picked this one up, because I was so intrigued by the formula in here. I want to know how it's going to perform as a base, as a liner, all the things. So I have that one. This is one from Haggard. This is the, I cannot remember the name of it, but look at how beautiful this is. I just loved the color story, and I was really curious about the formula in here. But what are you called? This one is the Ragnarok palette. That's which one this is, and it's written on here where the shade names are, so I will remember that. But just really pretty neutral palette, very cool tone leaning, but I like the golds in this one, and I thought the packaging was incredibly stunning. I got this one for like dirt cheap on YesStyle, although YesStyle took an eternity to get to me. So I'm just gonna say Look Healthy is still the fastest. From Titanium Foxes, their newest release. This is the Craggle Chat palette, and I was really hoping I would get to play with this one before I left and get some content up with it, but I just don't think I'm going to have time. As of this point, Christmas is just a few days away, and I've got lots of packing to do. I've got Christmas stuff to do, so I just don't think it's going to happen. But look at how beautiful that is, and the color story in here, y'all. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love this one so much. This may be my favorite color story out of the 3 that she's done too far. She just, it's beautiful, and I cannot wait to play with that one. I have this one from Kenyon or Cheery Up. I have not even put the sticker on the back for the name yet, so I don't remember the name of it, but it is their most recent launch, and look at how beautiful that is. It is such a pretty neutral palette, but it's got like very pinky and red undertones to it. We do have some really pretty browns, and I'm excited to play with that one. And then this one is from Give Me Glow. This is the Two Moods palette. I have wanted this one for such a long time, but it's one of those palettes that, one, it's ginormously huge. I mean, you saw the pastel one, the Pastel Dreams, how big that one was. I think the original one was bigger than that, and it was one of those that opened this way, so I never picked it up. But they've been reformulating, repackaging, kind of reimagining some of their palettes. Some of them they have expanded, and I picked this one up during Black Friday. It was on sale, and it was a pre-order, but it's finally here. It opens this way, and look at that color story, y'all. I couldn't resist. It's a me color story, and I'm I'm really excited to play with this one as well. So I can't wait to test out the formula and create some looks. I love the tones in that palette. But that is all of the eyeshadow palettes in my collection. This was a very lengthy video. I'm sure I've got quite the editing job ahead of me, but I love eyeshadow, and my channel is centered around eyeshadow, testing new formulas, creating color stories. You know, I do a lot of new palette content, rankings, throwback Thursdays. I'm going to start doing a lot of BYOPs and things like that, and it's a passion of mine. So yes, I accumulated an exorbitant amount of eyeshadow palettes this year, and some of them I shouldn't have picked up, but you know what? It is what it is. You only live once, no regrets, and I'm really proud of what I got rid of. But let's go ahead and pull what I did get rid of. I don't have my totals for this. I was not keeping track. I might go back and recount and pop that number up on the screen, but I do want to let you know how many I got rid of. So let me go ahead and gather those real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. All right, y'all, so I am decluttering a grand total of 31 palettes from my collection, and this feels so good. I am really proud of myself because I have a hard time letting go of eyeshadow palettes because I'm afraid I'm going to, you know, miss it, or you're not going to be able to get it. I'm going to regret it, and honestly, I don't think I'm going to regret any of these. This feels really good to get these out of my collection. There are things that I just don't love, I'm not reaching for, and they can go on to somebody else who will love and appreciate them for what they are. But this is going to free up an insane amount of room in my collection, and I am so excited to put everything back in there and do some reorganizing and just have some more space for growth, because 2025 is coming and I cannot wait to see what kind of releases we get then. But that is going to complete this video and ultimately this collection and declutter series. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I do post quite a few videos every single week and I wouldn't want you to miss one. But until my next video, have a good one. Bye.